Chapter 229. A lovely little sister was added to Professor Yoon's family. 3-year-old Joon-hee and his father went to the nursery to see his sister Eun-hee. When the nurse was not paying attention, the naughty Joon-hee swapped the sign of Eun-hee and the neighboring child born on the same day. In this way, the children of the two families were swapped by accident. In the blink of an eye, more than 10 years had passed, and Joon-hee had grown into a handsome boy. His excellent painting skills had made him an influential figure in school. The 14-year-old Eun-hee was smart and cute, and was deeply loved by her family. Brother Joon-hee dotes on his sister Eun-hee, and the two siblings have a deep relationship. Mother Kyung-ho's care for her only daughter is even more obvious. A generous family environment, a gentle and careful mother, and an excellent brother, all these make Eun-hee the object of envy of her friends at school. The paper is ordinary A4 paper, and the normal price is 5 cents. The song typeface printed by the laser is very high DPI, and every stroke is very clear. The typesetting is also very regular and rigorous, making people feel comfortable looking at it. The outline of the script was about 5,000 words long, and it filled 5 sheets of paper. Compared to the story itself, the cost of paper and printing was negligible. As the business manager of Chinda Brothers Pictures Company, there are many scripts that have passed through Liu Yi's hands. He deeply understands the value of a good script. Liu Yi was one of the founding members of the Chinda Brothers Pictures Company. He had followed Zhang Qian and Zhang De to conquer the world together. He had gone through hardships to the present in the capital city, a place of dragons and tigers. His experience and vision were not lacking. The name of the script given to him by Lu Chen is Autumn in My Heart. From the name, one can tell that it is an urban romance drama. Since Lu Chen is going to play the male lead, he must take the route of a youth idol. The beginning of the story is very interesting. The two girls were swapped at birth, and their fate will inevitably arouse the strong interest of the audience. As a business manager, Liu Yi naturally knows the company's business like the palm of his hand. Out of the needs of his work, he has seen at least thousands of movies and TV plays, and he has no impression that the same plot has been filmed. As a weekend play, the beginning has an attractive selling point. At present, the domestic film and television industry was developing rapidly, and the fever of IP was not subsiding. The great prosperity of the market also brought many problems, such as repetitive themes, imitation, plagiarism, and so on. If a TV series was a hit, imitators would definitely flock to it until a similar story pattern was completely ruined. The country's intellectual property laws did not have strict regulations on imitators, and there was no way to restrict them. They could only let the market mediate itself. Therefore, with a good story idea, it was equivalent to winning half the battle. Liu Yi was quite optimistic about Lu Chen's story. But as he continued to read, he soon understood why Zhu Mingyi was not interested in the script. What a sadistic love! Such a style could be said to go against the trend and challenge the audience's taste. Generally speaking, if the quality of this kind of countercurrent work was guaranteed, it would either be a huge hit or a huge failure. The probability of the latter was much higher than the former. It wasn't that there weren't any film companies and directors who courted death, but they basically failed miserably. After so many years of development, the positioning of the TV series market was already very clear. The current youth idol dramas took the route of comedy, farce, and thunder. If you want to shoot a sadistic love story, then shoot a middle-aged drama. If you want to cross the line, you must have the awareness of failure and losing everything. After reading the outline seriously, Liu Yi felt a toothache. The risk was too great. Shooting this show was like gambling. If he won the gamble, he could make a lot of money. If he lost the gamble, the reason why Liu Yi didn't give up immediately was that, first of all, this was a weekend show, and the cost was easy to control. The method of shooting and broadcasting at the same time would not result in a situation where no one would care about it after shooting dozens of episodes. It was like writing an online novel. If the subscription was too low, it could be finished in advance. Of course, it definitely couldn't be left unfinished. In addition, the male lead, Lu Chen, was still very selling. Manager Lu's entanglement, Lu Chen clearly saw it and said with a wry smile, "I know, this theme is not easy to shoot. He also regretted that he didn't have a deep understanding of the domestic film and TV market before writing the script. If he had known that such a situation would happen, it would have been better to write You from the Star. The production cost might be much higher, but at least it would be easy to find collaborators. However, the thought of regret only flashed in Lu Chen's mind. If no one was willing to invest in it, it was not a big deal for him to fully invest himself. Of course, this approach would lead to a big increase in cost and risk, and it was the last choice as a last resort. Lu Yi said with a smile, "The theme is a bit different, and the story is really good. I think girls should like it." After a pause, he asked, "Mr. Lu Chen, if our company cooperates with you, what requirements do you have?" Lu Yi had just heard some of the dialogue between Lu Chen and Zhu Mingyi, but he didn't hear it very clearly. Lu Chen thought about it and replied, "The requirement is joint investment. I can convert the script and remuneration into shares, and I don't ask for extra payment. In addition, the female lead has been determined, and I hope to recommend a director. Of course, the choice of director can be discussed again." It was the most common way to invest in films and TV series with multiple parties. Of course, Lu Yi would not have any objection, and Lu Chen converting the script and remuneration into investment was also beneficial to the film and television production company, reducing the investment risk. It was just that Lu Chen not only wanted the male lead, but also the female lead and the director. He couldn't help frowning like Zhu Mingyi and asked, "Mr. Lu Chen, which director do you want to recommend?" Lu Chen said frankly, "Do you know director Fang Hui? I want to recommend her." Fang Hui was a well-known director in China. She was famous in the circle for shooting films and dramas that expressed women's delicate emotions. She had also shot many music videos and had extremely rich experience. Compared with the real big stars, she didn't have big sales and popular works, but her reputation had always been very good. The last time Lu Chen and MSN shot the music video of Not Yet Lovers, the director was Fang Hui. The final effect of this music video was excellent, and it was played by Flying Stone Records in major media. Therefore, the album sold so well on QQ Music. At present, the crowdfunding for the CD and peripherals was also in full swing. It was through this cooperation that Lu Chen had a very good impression of Fang Hui, and the two had a lot of communication. He believed that the latter could fully control the story and produce the effect he wanted. Otherwise, why would Lu Chen insist on this condition? Director Fang Hui. Lu Yi suddenly said, "I know her. Although I haven't worked together before, I've watched the TV series she made." Lu Yi thought about it carefully. Lu Chen's recommendation was not unreasonable and reliable. Because Fang Hui's shooting style was very suitable for this, Autumn in My Heart. Lu Chen explained, "In fact, I haven't mentioned this to director Fang yet, and I don't know if she has time, so it's just a recommendation. If you have a better candidate, it can also be discussed." He originally wanted to discuss it with Zhu Mingyi of Baolong Pictures, but the other party didn't give him a chance at all. Lu Yi looked more sincere. Lu Yi said with a smile, "Well, let's put this problem aside first. Who are you going to choose as the female lead?" There was a rule in the film and television circle, that was, the investment was the biggest, and the one who paid the most money was the master. Whoever paid the most money was the master and would inevitably have the greatest right to speak. Lu Chen wanted both the male lead and the female lead. First of all, he had to invest. Otherwise, who would pay attention to the script alone? Lu Yi was very curious about the choice of the female lead. Who was Lu Chen trying to support? He had finished reading the outline. The female lead in the play was undoubtedly the most brilliant and core character. An artist like Lu Chen, who became famous at a young age, also had money. If he wanted to please a girl, what could be more romantic and touching than letting her be the female lead in a TV series? Lu Chen hesitated for a moment and said, "It's Chen Fei, Chen Fei, Lu Yi subconsciously read the name. The next moment, he suddenly opened his eyes wide, and his face showed a look of disbelief. "Which Chen Fei, is it?" Lu Chen smiled and said, "The one you can think of." Lu Yi was directly stunned. He was also a shrewd person, and rarely lost his composure like this. The news revealed by Lu Chen was really too shocking. Who was Chen Fei? She was a big star in the circle with tens of millions of fans, the heavenly queen of the music industry who had debuted for more than 10 years. But Lu Yi quickly came to his senses and was so happy that his face turned into a chrysanthemum. If he had only 2 or 3 points of confidence in this TV series before, then now it had soared to 7 or 8 points. A TV series or a movie, whether or not there was a big star in it, was a completely different thing. Although Chen Fei was not an actor, she had also made cameo appearances in several blockbusters. If what Lu Chen said was true, then this show would be Chen Fei's first time as the female lead. There would be a gimmick for hype. At least there would be no problem in selling it. It was nothing more than a matter of price. With the addition of Chen Fei, the biggest problem of Autumn in My Heart was weakened. As long as her fans could watch it, the ratings would be basically guaranteed. She was equivalent to a heavyweight, enough to be the key to victory. If Chienda Brothers Pictures could take over the production of this show, there would be too many benefits. Even if they lost money, it was not impossible to consider. How could Zhu Mingyi of Baolong Pictures miss this opportunity? The only answer could only be that the other party didn't talk to Lu Chen about this issue and gave up. Then Chienda Brothers must not miss it. He really wanted to laugh, and was undoubtedly glad that he had enough patience and sincerity. Lu Yi restrained his inner excitement and couldn't wait to say, "Mr. Lu Chen, on behalf of Chienda Brothers Pictures, I hope to have a formal discussion with you about the cooperation of Autumn in My Heart!" Lu Chen pondered for a moment and nodded, "Okay." He found that he really underestimated the influence of Chen Fei. If he had said it when talking to Baolong Pictures, it was estimated that Zhu Mingyi's attitude would have been different. Of course, Lu Chen was just thinking about it. Chienda Brothers Pictures might be a good choice. Chapter 230. Chienda Brothers Pictures. That night, when Lu Chen returned home, he called Chen Fei and told him what had happened today. Autumn in My Heart was first declined by Zhu Mingyi of Baolong Pictures, and then the people of Chienda Brothers Pictures took the initiative to come to him. The twists and turns were similar to the story of a novel, so he naturally had to talk to the heroine. Chen Fei knew the name as soon as she heard the other party's name. The company opened by Zhang Qian and Zhang De. I've seen them at a cocktail party before. I heard that the two brothers are very loyal and have a good reputation in the circle. If the conditions can be negotiated, it's okay to let Chienda do it. Lu Chen immediately breathed a sigh of relief. That's good. I'll ask your agent to come and talk with us. The TV series, Autumn in My Heart, did not involve many special effects, so the production cost was not high, but Chen Fei's salary was a problem. The salary of TV actors had always been a big problem. If it were written into a paper, it would at least be a thick stack. In the 80s and 90s, the salary of actors was very low. A few hundred yuan per episode, and even a few thousand yuan was a big shot. Nowadays, with the rapid development of the entertainment industry, the cake of the film and TV series market was getting bigger and bigger, and the salary of actors was naturally rising. Popular idols with appeal could easily be paid hundreds of thousands of yuan per episode, and it was not easy to hire them. For example, the big film and TV stars Gao Gu and Su Yuman were quoted more than 1 million yuan to the public, and the actual contract price was also very shocking. It was normal for a long TV series to be shot with a total salary of millions or even tens of millions. Calculating the total cost of a TV series, it was not strange that the actor's salary exceeded the cost of shooting, post-production, and publicity. Everyone was used to it. Especially for weekend TV series, the actor's salary was even more important, often occupying most of the budget. Of course, it was also possible to hire a newcomer, and the salary could be reduced very low, but how could the ratings be guaranteed? Who would be willing to buy it? Therefore, Lu Chen could only ask for a newcomer's price for Autumn in My Heart. Converted into investment shares, the proportion was basically insignificant, but Chen Fei was different. Her status was too high, but she had never shot a TV series, so the calculation of the salary was very complicated. Although Chen Fei did not lack money, he would be laughed at if he gave too much discount. He could not afford to lose face. If it was too high, the partners would definitely have objections, so they had to negotiate and come up with a reasonable distribution plan. Of course, the joint investment of Lu Chen and Chen Feier was more than enough. However, filming a TV series was not something that could be easily done by a film and TV series production company. There were many aspects involved. For example, the approval of the content of the script, the approval of the shooting permit, as well as the production and post-processing. If the film and television company only wanted to process the materials, those with the ability would basically not do it, and those without the ability would just mess around. Therefore, it was necessary to split the profits and let everyone benefit equally in order to ensure the smooth completion of the project. Otherwise, even if a film company accepted Lu Chen's work, even if they signed a contract, they could play some tricks during the filming process and increase the budget. In the end, the gains would not make up for the losses. Nowadays, most of the movies and TV series had attracted investments from many parties, sharing risks and profits, and had long established a very mature process system. As a newcomer who had just entered the film and television industry, Lu Chen had no intention of challenging this set of rules. Not to mention him, even Chen Feier could not act on his own, unless he opened his own film and television company. In this way, the partners were very important. Chen Feier said, "I originally had a good impression of Baolong Pictures. Since they don't know how to cherish it." Humph. The elder sister was obviously a little unhappy. She asked her friend to connect Lu Chen with Baolong Pictures, but she did not expect that the latter would refuse to cooperate. Lu Chen said with a smile, "They also have concerns. After all, the theme is different from the mainstream. If I didn't pull you out, I guess Chinda may not be willing." "Feier, your name is loud enough." "What name is loud enough?" Chen Feier spat and said angrily, "I'm not a Jianghu heroine. Hurry up and write the rest of the script." So far, Lu Chen had only written the first 4 episodes of the script, and according to the plan, there were still 16 episodes. Chen Feier had a script manuscript, and she was not satisfied with it. In fact, Lu Chen's speed was already very fast. Every morning, he had to go to the Borui Club to practice martial arts and keep fit. He also had to go to Beijing Conservatory of Music to attend classes and study. He also had to find time to write the script. Every day, his schedule was full. For this reason, Lu Shi helped Lu Chen to push off a lot of announcements and made a lot less money. That is, he opened his own studio and was independent. Otherwise, if he signed with an entertainment agency, how could he get permission? He would have been crushed to death by all kinds of money-making work. Lu Chen scratched his head, "I'll try to speed up." Chen Feier said with a smile, "I'm just saying. Don't take it seriously. Don't tire yourself too much, especially don't work too late at night. It doesn't matter if you're late." Lu Chen felt warm in his heart. It's just that Chen Feier could afford to wait, but some people couldn't wait. The next morning, Chinda Brothers Pictures sent people to Lu Chen's studio to discuss cooperation. In addition to Lu Yi, whom Lu Chen already knew, Chinda Pictures also sent a vice president and a director, fully showing the importance they attached to this TV series. However, Lu Chen basically didn't care about this kind of business negotiation, and left it all to his sister to handle. Now the studio was running well, and Lu Shi's accumulated experience was getting richer and richer, which saved him a lot of trouble. Chen Feier also sent his agent, and the representatives of the 3 parties sat down and began formal negotiations. There were some rumors in the entertainment industry, which had always been spread very quickly. And the rumors were confirmed by a blog post posted by Lu Chen in the Waves blog on November 10th, the eve of the so-called Singles Day. In this blog post, Lu Chen revealed a major piece of news to everyone, that is, a TV series he created and starred in would start shooting in the near future. A stone stirred up 1,000 ripples. Since crowdfunding to help leukemia patients, Lu Chen has been very quiet. Except for the daily updates of his blog posts, he basically didn't make any news, which made his fans a little depressed. Even if it's just a scandal, there's always a topic to talk about. Now Lu Chen finally provided a topic. The response of fans was extremely enthusiastic, and the number of clicks and comments on the blog post kept rising. Relying on the two things of heroes saving the beauty and helping fans, the number of Lu Chen's fans on the Waves blog has long exceeded the 10 million mark. As a newcomer singer who has just debuted, his move to develop into the film and television industry is really impressive, and naturally caused a heated discussion. Wow, Lu Chen is going to shoot a TV series. It's great. I've long said that our Lu Chen can rely on his face to make a living. Now the opportunity has finally come. Support, hurry up and shoot it. Weekly asking, who is the heroine? Has anyone chosen? Compared to the heroine, I'm more concerned about the script written by Lu Chen himself. Can you give me a spoiler? I have a hunch that this is a tragedy of dog abuse. Tomorrow is Singles' Day. I wish everyone a happy holiday in advance. I'm also asking who the heroine is. On the evening of November 11th, Lu Chen updated his blog again and answered the few questions that his fans were most concerned about. First of all, the TV series he created is an urban romance theme, a youth idol genre. Second, the name of the TV series is Autumn in My Heart. Starting tomorrow, the blog will continue to update part of the story in the form of a novel. In the future, after the filming is over, the official book will be released. Finally, the heroine of Autumn in My Heart is confirmed to be Chen Fei. If the news of Lu Chen shooting a TV series was said to have caused a heated discussion, then this spoiler blog post has undoubtedly caused a great sensation both inside and outside the industry. The reason is very simple: the music queen Chen Fei will make her first appearance in a TV series as the heroine. There is no doubt about the authenticity of the news, because Lu Chen Fei at the end of the blog post. The latter replied after only 10 minutes, "I'm looking forward to it." Plus a smiley face emoji. Of course, Lu Chen didn't post these two blog posts on a whim, but it was a planned publicity warm-up. After the efforts of the three parties, the agreement to shoot Autumn in My Heart was basically reached. The script outline has been sent to the relevant departments for review in advance. Once it is approved, they can start shooting immediately. Due to the addition of Chen Fei, Chinda Brothers Pictures attached great importance to this project. Not only did they make a lot of concessions on the agreement, but they also gathered elite personnel to form a shooting crew. Many staff members went to Jinling in advance. 90% of the shooting locations and scenes of Autumn in My Heart were completed in Jinling and Jinling Film City. Of course, Chinda Brothers Pictures did not have no requirements. One of them was that they hoped that Lu Chen and Chen Fei would use their respective channels to promote in advance and attract powerful TV stations and video websites to compete for the premiere rights. This was not a crooked way, but a conventional method of film and television marketing. Many movies and TV series were sold off before they could even start filming, and they recouped all their costs. It was just that many single people were abused miserably because of this. What the F***ck, is this a public show of affection? Oh my goddess, my heart is broken. I originally guessed that the heroine would be Chen Fei, and I guessed it right. Chen Fei, I really didn't expect it. It seems that the previous scandal between the two may be true. What do you think? I'm really speechless. Lu Chen and Chen Fei have a very good relationship. They are brother and sister. Don't you know? Chen Fei, as the heroine, is it a sibling love? Sibling love +1. Public opinion was like a tide, and Autumn in My Heart soon became a hot search term on Waves blog. Chapter 231. Jinhui Building, Alchwang Film and Television Production Company. Inside the office, Yan Qingyi closed the web page that was opened on the browser and sighed heavily. What he had just closed was the page of the Waves blog. What made the director sigh was the news that had been circulating on the blog in the past 2 days. That was, Chen Fei was going to shoot a TV series, and the actor she was going to work with was Lu Chen, who had been rumored to have a scandal. This series, called Autumn in My Heart, has been hyped up before it started shooting. The scriptwriter was actually Lu Chen, a young man who rose rapidly in the pop music world and showed his ambition to develop in the film and television industry. Originally, Alchwang Film and Television could have signed him. Thinking of this, Yan Qingyi was really helpless. He racked his brains to prepare for the shooting of the second season of Urban Love, and chose Lu Chen as an important supporting actor in the new series. In addition to his appearance and strength and other factors, he also took a fancy to the latter's popularity among young people. The tens of millions of fans in Lu Chen's Waves blog could at least increase the ratings by a few tenths of a point. As a result, he never expected that he was made a fool of by the investors during the audition. He rejected Lu Chen and replaced him with the so-called little fresh meat, Jiang Dongjun, and took away the role of Chen Yaoyang. Yan Qingyi felt that his face had been slapped swollen. During the shooting of the first season of Urban Love, he had a little conflict with the investors. He thought that this kind of work disagreement would not affect the cooperation between the two sides, but it turned out that he was still naive. For Jiang Dongjun, to be honest, Yan Qingyi really disdained him. Apart from a feminine face, he had no acting skills and no strength. How could he play a handsome, brave and extraordinary policeman like Chen Yaoyang? Thinking that he still had to pinch his nose to shoot this TV series, he was really a little discouraged. As for Lu Chen's decision to shoot a TV series, director Yan secretly sneered. He knew that this was Lu Chen's powerful counterattack against Jiang Dongjun and the people behind Jiang Dongjun. Although Yan Qingyi was not young, his attention to the internet was no less than that of young people. He knew clearly that Jiang Dongjun and his agency had stepped on Lu Chen in different media to hype up. The entertainment industry was just that sinister. Lu Chen had always ignored this and maintained his silence, not giving them any more opportunities to hype up. But his silence was obviously not because he was swallowing the insult and retreating, but because he was retracting his fist first. Then, it was a heavy blow. This punch was very beautiful. It directly pulled out a big shot like Chen Fei. The publicity effect was 100 times better than Jiang Dongjun's little tricks. It was a slap in the face. What are you pretending to be? I'm too lazy to play with you. If you want to play, let's play it big. Yan Qingyi silently filled in the lines for Lu Chen. He could even guess that this Autumn in My Heart would probably compete head-on with the second season of Urban Love in the ratings. At that time, there would really be a good show to watch. As the director of Urban Love, Yan Qingyi was somewhat gloating. Although he has not seen the script yet, his intuition tells the director that with Chen Fei's participation, Autumn in My Heart is likely to be a hit and sell well, and Urban Love will be completely destroyed. Unless Urban Love staggered the time and did not collide with the other party. But is that possible? Yan Qingyi shook his head. Alchwang Film and Television and the investors have already finished their preparations, and the publicity has also begun. There is no reason to postpone it. Yan Qingyi suddenly had the idea of giving up on continuing to direct. He didn't want to be a scapegoat. Compared with Yan Qingyi's lack of confidence, Zhu Mingyi, the deputy manager of Baolong Pictures' production department, was much more confident. He also saw the news that was spreading on the internet, but he didn't take it seriously. To be honest, Lu Chen actually invited Chen Fei to be the female lead in the play, which surprised Zhu Mingyi. If Lu Chen had invited Chen Fei out when he was talking at the time, it would still have been negotiable. Now that he has missed it, Zhu Mingyi didn't feel much pity. If his show can't succeed, it's the same with Chen Fei, Zhu Mingyi confidently said to his immediate boss, the deputy general manager and art director of Baolong Pictures. It's too cruel. The audience won't like it. Chen Fei's salary can't be low. The risk of our investment is too great. The most important thing is that Lu Chen's offer is very high, and I can't agree to it at all. The art director of Baolong Pictures, whose surname was Wu, was also an old fox who had been in the circle for a long time. He nodded and said meaningfully, if that's the case, then there's no problem. You know what to do. Zhu Mingyi smiled and said, Boss Wu, I understand. After director Wu left, Zhu Mingyi sat back in his chair, picked up the teacup and took a sip. But he found that the tea was already cold. He frowned, and there was a layer of haze in his heart, which made him feel indescribably unhappy. This thing, it's true that people sit at home and disaster comes from the sky. Zhu Mingyi complained about Sister Li, the general manager of Beijing's Rainbow Brokerage Company. If the other party hadn't introduced Lu Qin, he wouldn't have been involved in this mess and upset. Zhu Mingyi's confidence in front of Director Wu was actually mostly pretended. Chen Feier's card was too unexpected. He suddenly regretted his attitude towards Lu Qin at that time. He really didn't pay enough attention to him. At the same time, in the Blue Court Cafe on the top floor of the Jinghua Hotel adjacent to the Blue Sky Entrepreneurial Park, Sister Li, who Zhu Mingyi was complaining about, was sitting with Chen Feier and Lu Qin. Sister Li's full name was Li Zhenjin. It was said that when she was a teenager, she came to Beijing from the inland countryside to make a living after graduating from junior high school. She worked as a waiter in a restaurant, swept the streets, sold insurance, and then seized the opportunity to squeeze into the circle. She started from a small assistant and finally became the general manager of a sizable brokerage company. Her life experience could be made into a long TV series. Sister Li was very fat. Her weight of more than 200 pounds made her whole body round. Her appearance was quite festive. When she smiled, she looked like a female version of Maitreya Buddha. She also wore a pair of small gold-rimmed glasses. In Beijing's circle, Sister Li was famous for her forthright and righteous character. She rarely treated the contracted artists of Rainbow Agency harshly, and if anyone wanted to leave, she would never deliberately make things difficult. But she was also very shrewd. She had a wide network in the industry, especially in the upper echelons. She was very successful in the circle, and not many people dared to look down on her. Of course, Lu Qin didn't dare to look down on her. His attitude was polite and respectful. Sister Li had a very good relationship with Chen Feier. She helped her a lot in her early years. Originally, Lu Qin was in contact with Baolong Pictures. It was this big sister who introduced them. Unfortunately, it didn't work out, and in the end, it fell to Chinda Pictures. Regarding this result, Sister Li complained to Chen Feier, "You should have told me earlier that you wanted to be the female lead. Then I wouldn't have introduced Baolong Pictures to you. You should have talked to China Film and China Television, right?" China Film and China Television were giants in the film and television industry. They were the real giants. Sister Li wasn't bragging. She really had the means to approach China Film and China Television. Chen Feier smiled and said, "Sister Li, how could China Film and China Television like him? Even if the script is chosen, he has no chance as the male lead. I don't want you to owe me a big favor." In the eyes of China Film and China Television, there was indeed no small figure like Lu Qin. Chen Feier was barely qualified. It was impossible for Lu Qin to raise conditions with these two giants. That would be meaningless. Good cooperation required equal qualifications. It was better to be a chicken's mouth than a cow's tail. Chen Feier, of course, understood the principle. Sister Li said with a smile, "You are so considerate of him. Are you two really in a relationship?" Chen Feier suddenly blushed. "Sister Li, we are just friends." Sister Li smiled and shook her head. She said to Lu Qin, "Xiao Lu, Feier is so good to you. Don't let her down." What kind of person was she? How could she not see the ambiguous relationship between the two? Lu Qin could only smile bitterly. It wasn't good for him to agree, but it was also wrong not to agree. He didn't know how to answer. Fortunately, Sister Li didn't continue to pursue the matter. She said the purpose of meeting with Lu Qin this time. "Xiao Lu, I have read the script of Romance in My Life. I want a role. Is that okay?" Lu Qin said without hesitation, "No problem." He didn't ask which role. Previously, when Chen Feier called him and said that Sister Li wanted to meet him, she told him a lot of things. Therefore, Lu Qin knew that this big sister was one of Chen Feier's benefactors in life. She had helped him a lot. Most importantly, Sister Li had a lot of connections in the entertainment circle, which was very helpful to Lu Qin's career. Now that she took the initiative to make a request, if Lu Chen hesitated and was overcautious, not only would he lose points, but he would also embarrass Chen Feier. His performance would be too bad. Sisterly was very curious. You agreed so quickly without asking which role it is. What if I want the male lead? Lu Chen said casually. If Sisterly really wants the male lead, it's not a problem at all. Lu Chen wasn't pretending to be polite. He could write a lot of classic scripts. As long as he could open up the scene, he would have a chance to be the male lead in the future. Of course, he agreed so quickly because it was obvious that Sisterly was joking. However, Sisterly was very satisfied and happy. She said to Chen Feier, "Feier, the boy you chose is really good. You have to hold on to him tightly. Don't let him run away." Chen Feier covered his face with his hands. After Sisterly made Chen Feier so embarrassed that he couldn't face anyone, she smiled and said to Lu Chen, "Actually, I really want the male lead, but it's a young male lead. It's my son who has been clamoring to act, so this time I'll give him a chance." Lu Chen suddenly understood. The first few episodes of Romance in My Life required a young male and female lead. There weren't many scenes, but it was still very important. Chapter 232. This is my son. Sisterly opened the saved photo on her phone and proudly showed it to Lu Chen. The teenager on the screen was sunny and handsome. He was 15 or 16 years old, the beginning of his youth. He looked full of vitality in his school uniform and had the temperament of a boy next door. Sisterly obviously did not ask for the role randomly. Her son's appearance was really suitable for the role of the teenager Yin Juanxi. He is currently studying at Beijing Film Academy affiliated high school. His results have always been good and he has taken basic acting courses. Sisterly was full of pride when talking about her son, just like any mother. Her marriage was a story that was often talked about in the industry. When Sisterly established herself in Beijing and started to expand her career, she met an artist who had been in trouble for a long time and fell deeply in love with him. This artist was handsome and had a lot of luck with women. Logically speaking, he would not be interested in Sisterly. However, he married Sisterly and had a child. He received the latter's wholehearted support. In the end, he rose to the top with a hit TV series and became a hot star. After he became famous, this artist proposed to divorce Sisterly. Sisterly readily agreed. Her only request was to have custody of her son. When others talked about it, they all felt it was unfair for Sisterly and said that the artist was an ingrate. However, Sisterly never mentioned anything wrong with her ex-husband. Instead, she put in a good word for him on many occasions. She felt that it was enough to have a very good memory of her life. Moreover, she had a son who inherited his father's good qualities. It was this optimism and open-mindedness that earned Sisterly the respect of many people in the industry. Lu Chen has heard this story and admired the other party's character. The matter was finalized. Qian de Brothers Pictures was very sincere in the cooperation. It was not a problem to get a supporting role for only 3 or 4 episodes. The cooperation agreement between the two parties was basically finalized. As long as the script passed the review, they could start filming immediately. At 7 o'clock that evening, Lu Chen began to update the novel version of Autumn in My Heart, in the form of a long blog post on Inspire blog. Unlike other star artists who hired copywriters or professionals to polish their books, the novel version of Autumn in My Heart was written by Lu Chen himself. He only had the help of the studio to proofread the wrong words. This was an important means of early publicity for the TV series, Autumn in My Heart. Although there was a great risk in revealing spoilers in advance, it could attract the continuous attention of a large number of fans. Using the huge platform of the blog, the advertising fees saved was not a small amount. On November 13th, the outline of Autumn in My Heart passed the review of the relevant departments. On the same day, Lu Chen participated in the Beijing television station Variety Channel's celebrity interview program recording. He had been very busy recently. His daily work schedule was packed to the brim. Even at night, he had to sit in front of the computer and type out scripts and novels. He slept and rested for no more than 6 hours. Under such circumstances, many jobs were turned down, but some invitations could not be turned down, nor could they be turned down. For example, this celebrity interview program. Beijing television station had a total of 9 channels. Other than Department 1's Beijing Television, which was a satellite channel, there were 2 variety channels, 3 finance channels, 4 lifestyle channels, 5 film channels, etc. The variety channel's celebrity interview program was Beijing television station's Department 2's premium program. It had a history of 3 years. It was produced once a week, and had invited more than 100 celebrities from the entertainment industry. This program's ratings were quite high. The reason why Lu Chen could go on it was because he had a good working relationship with Beijing television. Otherwise, with his qualifications, he would not have been able to get on it. Like most variety programs, Celebrity Interview used a recording method. The recording location was Beijing television station's T5 Broadcasting Hall. Compared to the newly opened T1 Broadcasting Hall, T5 Broadcasting Hall was undoubtedly much smaller. It could only accommodate 300 audience members. The stage was not big, but it was more than enough to record a talk show. The host of Celebrity Interview was called Mu Rong. She was a knowledgeable woman with a refined temperament. Her style of conversation was gentle and humorous. She never made the interviewee feel pressured. It was like 2 friends having afternoon tea and chatting together, talking about their troubles in life and work, or their feelings in life. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The star I invited to this program is a very special boy. He has extraordinary musical talent. He once won the championship of Singing China. His debut album was very popular, and all his songs were on the original music chart. He is regarded as the new hope of originality in the pop music world. He is also the founder of campus folk songs. He is Lu Chen. Under Mu Rong's slightly sensational introduction, the music of You Who Sat Next to Me sounded, and Lu Chen stepped onto the stage. Welcome, everyone. There was immediate warm applause in the studio. Many fans who were invited to the scene raised small signs with Lu Chen's name written on them and smiled very happily. As he walked, Lu Chen smiled at them and thanked them, "Thank you." Of the 300 audience at the scene, half were Lu Chen's fans. These lucky fans registered through the internet and telephone, and finally were screened by Beijing TV station. The other half were ordinary enthusiastic audiences and TV station staff, commonly known as official support. Hello, Lu Chen. Mu Rong took the initiative to extend her hand to Lu Chen. Welcome to the celebrity interview. Lu Chen shook hands with her and said, "Thank you. It's my honor." The host was in her 40s, but because of good maintenance, she looked just in her early 30s. Her appearance was dignified, her makeup was exquisite, and her soft voice and smile made people feel like they were bathing in the spring breeze. There were 4 cameras at the scene, and 3 of them were aimed at Lu Chen and Mu Rong. This was Lu Chen's first time participating in such a talk show, but he was not nervous at all. He sat down on the sofa very relaxed. Mu Rong smiled and said, "Lu Chen, I think many of the audience might not know much about you. Can you first tell us how you embarked on the path of music?" Usually, in such a talk show, the host's questions were preset. As an invited guest, Lu Chen had received the questions in advance, but for the effect and authenticity of the program, the host would also suggest additional questions, so he had to improvise. The first question was a conventional question. Lu Chen nodded and said, "All right. Actually, it was really an accident that I embarked on the path of music." He gave a simple account of his experience, without deliberately exaggerating or embellishing it. What he said was what most fans knew. When he finished, Mu Rong continued to ask, "Then what plans do you have for your future?" The first few questions were quite normal, and there was nothing special about them. However, Mu Rong quickly mentioned something interesting. She first showed everyone a video, which was played on the big screen LCD TV next to her. The content was the video of Lu Chen saving people in Hangzhou. After the short video of more than 2 minutes was played, there was another warm applause in the studio. Lu Chen's fans had seen this video, and many people had seen it many times. But now watching it again, it was still a thrilling feeling, and they could not help applauding and cheering for him. Mu Rong smiled and said, "I think the most enthusiastic applause was from the girls. I believe that the girls will be very moved when they see this video. It let us know a really brave and admirable young man." There was suddenly laughter in the audience. Many girls covered their mouths and laughed. The camera gave a close-up shot in time. Mu Rong asked Lu Chen, "At that time, you must have rushed to save people without thinking. Otherwise, it would be impossible for you to move so quickly. Then, when you watched this video later, did you have any fear?" Some reporters and media had asked Lu Chen what he thought at that time, but Lu Chen did not think at that time. As Mu Rong said, if he still thought about it, he would not have been able to save Tian Tian at all. The host changed the angle of the question. Lu Chen replied, "I was not afraid. I wanted to thank the cameraman for making me so handsome." His humorous answer not only made the audience laugh, but also Mu Rong showed her 8 white teeth. Mu Rong asked with a smile, "Did your family worry about you when they saw it?" Lu Chen said, "My mother was very worried, but she thought I did a good job and made her proud." Mu Rong said sincerely, "You have a good mother." Lu Chen nodded and said, "Yes." There was another round of applause. Mu Rong said, when he was interviewed by reporters, "I remember Lu Chen's words very clearly. That is, the greater the ability, the greater the responsibility. He has more ability than ordinary people like us, and he is also brave to take his own responsibility. We all know that Lu Chen's family has owed a lot of debts, but he is still willing to give his love." Please look at the following video, which was shot by a reporter in the Department of Hematology and Oncology of the First People's Hospital of Ningyuan City. Many leukemia patients were shown on TV. They were all helped by the crowdfunding project launched by Lu Chen, including Meng Meng. This fan of Lu Chen has successfully received a bone marrow transplant and is currently in the recovery stage. Because of the good effect of the operation, she will soon live like a normal person and enjoy a good life to the fullest. In the video, Meng Meng expressed her gratitude to Lu Chen on behalf of all the leukemia patients who were treated. She smiled and shed tears as she spoke. The applause in the studio lasted for a long time. Chapter 233. It was very common for stars and celebrities to do charity activities, and the public was used to it. For example, Chen Fei, who spends millions of yuan on charity every year, was also awarded the title of China Philanthropy Ambassador, so she was officially recognized. And this honor also allowed her to ignore many of the rules of light and dark in the circle, which was equivalent to adding a layer of amulet. Therefore, many stars were very keen on doing charity to improve their status and reputation. Lu Chen donating money to sick fans was not something worth writing home about. But the charity crowdfunding project he launched to help Meng Meng, leukemia patients, was extraordinary. The project ended on the 26th, with a total of 4.7 million plus charity funds raised, and a total of 12 leukemia patients, including Meng Meng, were in urgent need of help. Mukin crowdfunding company has published all expenditure accounts and follow-up funding arrangements on its official website. Through the dissemination of Wave's blog, what was originally Lu Chen's personal behavior, with the support of many celebrities in the circle, has become a charity activity participated by the whole people, forming a great social influence. It was precisely because of this that Lu Chen was interviewed by the central-level China Youth Daily. Mu Rong's interview with Lu Chen focused on this aspect. It was not only a different way to create a topic, but also a kind of political correctness. And Beijing television station's interview video with leukemia patients who have been helped is even more touching, and the effect of the program was highlighted. Whether it was Lu Chen's fans, ordinary audiences, or staff, the applause was warm and sincere. In their view, Lu Chen did a great thing. The significance was completely beyond his heroic rescue of Tian Tian. Lu Chen put his hands together and modestly thanked the audience. He said sincerely, "I'm ashamed. In fact, it's a lot of warm-hearted people who really contributed. Without everyone's help, the crowdfunding activity would never have been so successful." In addition, I would like to thank Big Brother Tan Hong and Sister Chen Fei. They all donated a lot of money. Mu Rong said seriously, in my opinion, this charity crowdfunding is telling us that there are countless kind people around us. When we need help, there will always be someone to lend a helping hand. Lu Chen nodded. Yes. Mu Rong turned her head and said to the audience with a smile, I've talked so much with Lu Chen, so now it's time to give the opportunity to our audience. Do any of you have any questions for Lu Chen? The 45-minute celebrity interview program had been recorded for 20 minutes. The conversation between Mu Rong and Lu Chen was basically within the predetermined framework, and there was nothing out of the ordinary. For an interview program, this was definitely too serious and formal. Then Lu Chen chose 3 more audience questions and answered them one by one. Finally, the microphone returned to Mu Rong's hand. She asked, Lu Chen, who do you want to thank the most for your achievements now? This was a very official question. When Mu Rong asked this question, many figures flashed through Lu Chen's mind. Su Bo, Mo Ran, Fang Mingyi, Chen Jinhao, Tan Hong, Chen Fei. Some came from dreams, and some from reality. In the end, there was only one name left in his heart. Lu Chen replied, the person I want to thank the most is my mother. Mu Rong's eyes were gentle. She asked softly, can you tell me why your mother is your mother? Lu Chen was silent for a moment and said, first of all, there would be no me without my mother, and I would not be sitting here today. Second, my mother taught me a lot of life principles. She taught me to be strong and independent. Although this was a TV show, when it came to this question, Lu Chen was still willing to bare his heart. The person he was most grateful to was his mother. Mu Rong quietly listened to Lu Chen and asked, then here, in our interview program, what do you want to say to your mother? Lu Chen thought for a moment and said, in fact, like most people, I'm not very good at expressing my feelings. I'll express it in a song to the person I love. Easterners were different from Westerners. The expression of their feelings was often very implicit. They would not often say, I love you, but would only express it with action. Mu Rong's eyes suddenly lit up. That's great. There was no need for her to encourage. The audience spontaneously clapped their hands. The staff on the scene sent a guitar to Lu Chen. Lu Chen held the guitar and tried it. After there was no problem, he said, this song is for my mother. Its name is When You're Old. He gently plucked the strings and played the prelude. The studio immediately became extremely quiet. Everyone listened carefully to the sound of the piano and listened to the voice from Lu Chen. When you're old and your hair is white, you're drowsy. When you're old and can't walk, dozing by the fire, recalling youth. How many people have loved your youth and happy hours, loving your beauty, hypocritically or sincerely? Only one person still loves your devout soul, loving the wrinkles on your old face. When you're old and your eyebrows droop, the lights are dim and uncertain. The wind blows, your news, that's the song in my heart. This song, When You're Old, was adapted from the famous poem, How You're Old, by the Irish poet Yeats. The original poem was written by the poet to the lover he had never pursued in his life. The feelings were delicate and real. Now, after the adaptation, it was sung by Lu Chen to his mother. It also has the charm of touching the soul. The whole song was soothing and warm, with strong folk characteristics. There was no exciting climax, but it was meaningful and profound, extremely pleasant to listen to, and deeply infected all the audience present. Beauty is easy to grow old and youth is easy to pass away. It was the law of life. It was also human nature to love beauty and be reluctant to be young. And when a mother dedicated all her youth to her children, how could this feeling be repaid? When you're old and your hair is white, sleepy, and uncertain. When you're old and can't walk, dozing by the fire, recalling youth. How many people have loved your youth and happy hours, loving your beauty, hypocritically or sincerely? Only one person still loves your devout soul, loving the wrinkles on your old face. When I'm old and my eyebrows droop, the lights are dim and uncertain. The wind blows, your news, that's the song in my heart. When I'm old, I really hope I am singing this song for you. Lu Chen's singing, from soothing to high-pitched, full of emotion but not excited, like a cloud tide rushing up the snowy peak, immediately drifting away, gradually returning to calm, leaving a lingering sound. Until he put down the guitar, all the audience seemed to wake up from a dream and applauded desperately. Sitting across from Lu Chen, Mu Rong's eyes had already turned red. She rarely showed such true feelings in her own program, but Lu Chen's song really moved her. Mu Rong was already 40 years old and a mother of 2 children. Was there a child who would sing for her like Lu Chen? When you're old, only one person still loves your devout soul, loving the wrinkles on your old face. Note: When You're Old, original author, Yeats, adapted/composed, Zhao Zhao. Chapter 234. This issue of Celebrity Interview was recorded for nearly 70 minutes. This meant that more than a third of the content would be cut and would not appear on the TV screen. But it didn't matter. When You're Old was enough to make this issue of Celebrity Interview very exciting. After the interview ended, Mu Rong even felt a little unsatisfied. She had supported hundreds of programs, and there were very few people who had the same feeling. Probably to make up for the regret in her heart, Mu Rong specially invited Lu Chen to a coffee shop near the TV station. She was not alone, accompanied by a deputy director of the Beijing TV station variety channel program team. The deputy director, surnamed Zhu, was a burly man from the north, with a straightforward personality and a loud voice. Of course, Director Zhu did not come out to chat with them. He had his eyes on the upcoming Autumn in My Heart. To be precise, Beijing TV Department 2 was quite interested in this TV series. In fact, ever since Lu Chen announced the shooting of Autumn in My Heart on his blog, and the news that Chen Fei would be the female lead, there were a lot of units interested in this weekend TV series. There were TV stations, advertisers, middlemen, and most of them were entertainment management companies. The former came to inquire about the price, while the latter wanted to play a role. Although Lu Chen was a pure newcomer in the film and television industry, with the golden signboard of Chen Fei, even if it was a bad movie, he could still get a lot of attention, and there was no lack of people willing to bet on it. At present, the scale of the domestic film and television industry was very large, and the number of TV series shot every year was rising steadily, reaching a quite amazing level. And of these TV series, at least 90% could not be broadcast on the provincial and central TV stations. Many of them could not even be seen by the city TV stations. They could only be put on the internet and rely on click traffic to make some money. The truly powerful online media also only picked the best products to promote. Therefore, it was really incredible for Lu Chen, who was not in the film and television industry and was a newcomer who had just made his debut, to suddenly write his own script, be the male lead, and find partners to shoot a TV series by himself. However, this kind of fooling around was so successful that it made countless people jealous and envious. In the final analysis, Chen Fei was the key. Autumn in My Heart was Chen Fei's first TV series. Relying on her golden signboard alone, she can save tens of millions of publicity and hype costs. It is very normal for Beijing TV Department 2 to be interested. Even now, by the opportunity of Star Interview to contact Lu Chen, it is already very reserved. However, Director Zhu had found the wrong person to talk to about this matter with Lu Chen. Autumn in My Heart was a project led by Lu Chen, but he left all the investment, publicity, and sales to his sister, Lu Shi. Therefore, when Director Zhu tried to inquire about the price, Lu Chen could only give him Lu Shi's contact number. Selling a TV series to a TV station was a very complicated matter. Generally speaking, according to the TV series, an episode could cost anywhere from hundreds of thousands to millions. There were too many factors that affected the price, such as the script, the actors, the director, the theme, and so on. It could also be sold to multiple TV stations for a premiere, or it could be an exclusive premiere, with different prices. In addition, if the ratings of the premiere were high, the price of the rebroadcast would be very high. There were many examples of the premiere not making money, but relying on the rebroadcast to make a lot of money. However, more often than not, many TV series were door-to-door sales, and they couldn't get what they wanted even if they were half sold and half given. Therefore, although Lu Chen couldn't promise director Zhu anything, he was still very polite. Maybe he would have to beg him in the end. And director Zhu also had his own reservations. His interest in Autumn in My Heart was not too great. If there was no Chen Feier to join, it would not fall into his sight at all. It's just that there are a lot of TV series now, but the quality or the works that can sell well are very limited. Beijing TV variety channel not only faces the competition of its peers, but also has to compete with other channels on the same station for resources. In addition to the eldest set of satellite TV, the second set of variety channels, the fourth set of life channels, the fifth set of film and television channels, and the eighth set of youth channels all have fixed TV series programs. Internal performance rankings are implemented between different channels. The higher the performance, the higher the reward, and the more resources will naturally be tilted. Therefore, the outsourcing of channel programs is everywhere, in order to save costs and improve efficiency. But saving is far from as good as open source. A good program or a TV series with high ratings can produce great benefits and bring huge profits. Now is not decades ago. The internal reform of the TV station has long been completed, and the competition mechanism is very mature. Although the variety channel is ranked second in Beijing TV, it is closely chased by the fourth and fifth sets, and there is a strong sense of crisis. Director Zhu is naturally under a lot of pressure. Buying a bad TV series and buying a good TV series have two different results, which are likely to lead to the position under his buttocks being shaken or stabilized. Therefore, he didn't put on any airs with Lu Chen. He was not disappointed that he didn't dig anything out of Lu Chen's mouth. He just wanted to establish a good relationship, and if it was really worth it in the future, he could take the lead. Under such circumstances, coupled with Mu Rong's cooperation, the communication between the two sides was very harmonious. At 8:30 p.m. on November 15th, the new issue of Star Interview was broadcast on Beijing TV variety channel on time. This episode of the show attracted the attention of a large number of Lu Chen fans. Lu Chen has already issued an announcement on his blog, and the content of the show was broadcast on Whale TV that night. As a result, the song When You're Old became an instant hit. This new song by Lu Chen, which no one has ever heard before, and as a song written for his mother, it poked the tears of countless people. The video clip of playing and singing was forwarded by a large number of people on blogs. It was not uncommon to hear songs praising, and reminiscing about one's mother in China, but they were basically works with a preachy theme. Therefore, they were not very popular and were usually only sung at cultural performances of government departments or social groups. This makes When You're Old more and more precious. Its lyrics are not complicated. It can be said to be easy to understand. The melody is soothing and beautiful. The requirements for singing skills are not high, and it is easy to cover. The characteristic guitar playing and singing of folk songs are most suitable for dissemination, coupled with the emotions contained in the song, so it is regarded as one of Lu Chen's best works by many music critics and is strongly recommended on blogs. In the pop music circle, people once again saw the talent of Lu Chen. Lu Chen seems to have endless musical inspiration. He can always write beautiful works. He is obviously very handsome, but he never brushes his face to eat, he brushes his songs. Someone listed all of Lu Chen's works in the forum, including his own albums and songs written for others. None of them are mediocre, and any of them can be the lead or second lead of an album. The most outrageous thing is that so far, all of the works that have been officially released by Lu Chen have been on the original music chart, which is a record in itself. In the history of domestic pop music, there must be better singers or musicians than Lu Chen, but the average quality of their works has reached this level. Many people were amazed by this. The future pop music world will belong to Lu Chen's era. Such praise is definitely a bit too much for the current Lu Chen. Some people are amazed, some people are jealous, some people are disdainful, and some people take it to heart. However, the ups and downs on the internet have not affected Lu Chen for the time being, and he has no time to pay attention to it. On November 16, Lu Chen and Li Feiyu left Beijing together and came to Jinling to attend the opening ceremony of Autumn in My Heart. More than 300 kilometers away from Jinling, Kaiyuan District, Ningyuan City. In the second bedroom of room 201 of Building 7, Meng Meng is sitting on the bed and looking at the textbook in her hand. Her bone marrow transplant operation was very successful, and there was no obvious rejection reaction. In addition, her original physical fitness was good, so she was discharged from the hospital shortly after the operation to recuperate and undergo post-operative drug consolidation treatment. According to the doctor, as long as there are no accidents, her leukemia is basically cured. It is also because of the rapid development of science and medical technology. In the past, it was really a terminal illness, and even if the bone marrow transplant was successful a few years ago, the recurrence rate was very high. Now with new drugs and new methods, as long as there is no lack of treatment funds, there is a very high cure rate if the match is successful. And for this family, this is the best result. It's just that Meng Meng is a little depressed. Because of this serious illness, her schoolwork has been lagged behind. She probably needs to repeat for a year before she can take the college entrance examination. Otherwise, there is no hope of being admitted to the ideal school. Although Meng Meng's grades are ordinary, she still wants to work hard to go to college. Even if it is a very ordinary university. The door of the room was suddenly pushed open, and two girls wearing masks came in. Meng Meng, we are here to see you. Meng Meng immediately beamed with joy. The person who came was her best friend. She is very bored staying at home, but she can't go out in a short time, and her mother doesn't allow her to play with any electronic devices, even her mobile phone is confiscated. Therefore, the happiest time for Meng Meng is when her classmates and friends come to visit. This time, her best friends didn't bring her flowers or fruits, but a thick stack of printed paper. Meng Meng asked curiously, "What is this?" Her best friend said with a smile, "You will know when you see it." Meng Meng opened it and immediately saw the printed text on the first page of the manuscript. Autumn in My Heart / author, Lu Chen. She opened her eyes in disbelief. This is a novel written by brother Lu Chen? Her best friend said with a smile, "Yes, the TV series is about to start, and Lu Chen is the male lead, and Chen Fei is the female lead. When you get better, you can watch it." Meng Meng clenched the manuscript in her hand, eager to get better soon. She believes that the novel written by Lu Chen and the TV series will be very exciting. Chapter 235. When Lu Chen came to Jinling again, it was raining. The drizzle was like smoke and fog. This ancient and modern city was extraordinarily beautiful in the rain. It was gentle, elegant, and lingering, as if an elegant lady from the Tang and Song dynasties was quietly waiting for his arrival. It was hard to describe this feeling in words. Lu Chen stayed in the same 5-star hotel near the Jinling Film and Television City. The crew of Autumn in My Heart had already assembled in the Film and Television City a few days ago. They could start shooting as soon as the actors arrived. As one of the 3 major film and television cities in China, Jinling Film and Television City's service facilities were in place. Any crew that came here didn't need to worry about food, accommodation, and travel. The Film and Television City would help solve the worries. Therefore, in the past, it often took a year or more to shoot 30 to 40 episodes of TV series. Now, it was normal to shoot 2 episodes a week for weekend shows. If special effects were not needed in the post-production, then it could be shot this week and appear on the TV screen the next week. The efficiency was very high. Of course, this was the ideal situation, because there were often all kinds of unexpected situations in the shooting work. Even if the TV station cooperated, they still needed to arrange the broadcast time in advance. In the hotel's business suite, Lu Chen first met Chen Fei, who came a day earlier than him, as well as Sister Li and her baby son, Zhang Juanji. In the TV series, Autumn in My Heart, Lu Chen played the male lead, and Zhang Juanji played the role of his youth. This handsome boy had just turned 15 years old this year. He was 170 meters tall and looked at least 70% similar to his father. If he grew taller and bigger, he would undoubtedly be an idol that could charm thousands of girls. Sister Lee was obviously very proud of her son. Ah! Zhang Juanji was very outgoing and didn't have the slightest shyness. When he saw Lu Chen, he immediately shouted in surprise. He put down the tablet he was playing with and ran over. He smiled and bowed to Lu Chen. "Hello, brother Lu Chen." Sister Lee said, "How can you call him brother? You should call him uncle." Lu Chen smiled bitterly and said, "Sister Lee, I'm not that old. Just call him brother." He nodded and smiled at Zhang Juanji. "Hello, Zhang Juanji." Zhang Juanji proudly made a victory gesture to his mother, and then said eagerly, "Brother Lu Chen, I want to learn martial arts from you, and I also want to learn guitar from you. You play the guitar so well, and I want to know how you got Sister Fei, Ah." Before he could finish, one of his ears was twisted by Qin Fei. The heavenly queen sneered, "Little Ji, you're being naughty again. It looks like I haven't taught you enough." Zhang Juanji grimaced and said with a bitter face, "Sister Fei, I know I was wrong." Qin Fei had a good relationship with Sister Lee and treated Zhang Juanji like a younger brother. However, this younger brother of hers was very mischievous, and Sister Lee spoiled him a lot. Therefore, sometimes when she couldn't stand it, she would have to discipline him. Everything has its vanquisher. Zhang Juanji was not afraid of anything, but he was afraid of Qin Fei. Lu Chen nodded. "If you want to learn guitar from me, there's no problem. First, you have to act well." Qin Fei let go of his hand. Zhang Juanji rubbed his red ear, patted his chest and said, "Brother Qin, don't worry. I've shot commercials and acted in plays. I promise I won't let you down." Lu Chen smiled and said, "Then it's a deal." Sister Lee said seriously, "Lu Chen, don't spoil him like I do. If he needs to be beaten, scolded. If he does something wrong, just criticize him. You don't have to consider my relationship with him." Although Sister Lee doted on Zhang Juanji, it was not the kind of unrestrained doting. Zhang Juanji liked singing and acting, and was destined to enter the entertainment industry. Therefore, in this aspect, she was very serious in disciplining him. If a star wanted to stay in the industry for a long time, networking was very important. Although she could help her son, Zhang Juanji had to walk his own path in the future. No one liked a spoiled child, and the earth would not revolve around anyone. Therefore, this time, Sister Lee used her relationship with Qin Fei to put Zhang Juanji into the crew of Autumn in My Heart. It was to pave the way for him and also to sharpen and train him. Lu Chen said with a smile, "Okay, but the key still depends on the director." Qin Fei said, "Let's go see Director Fang together." The director of Autumn in My Heart finally fell on Fang Hui, who was recommended by Lu Chen. The partner, Chinda Brothers Pictures, originally coveted this position. They had signed several directors, but in the end, they respected Lu Chen's opinion. In return, most of the other important supporting roles and small roles were signed artists under Chinda Brothers Pictures or candidates recommended by related stakeholders. There were at least dozens of roles in a TV series, and it was unknown how many people wanted to ask for a cameo with only a few lines, but they couldn't get it. The interests involved were great. Especially those TV series produced by big directors, they were simply the meat of Tang Seng. Originally, if it was just Lu Chen's own selfie, perhaps not many people would be interested. But since the news that Qin Fei would play the leading role was announced, and it became a hot topic on blogs, there were really too many entertainment agencies and actors calling Lu Chen's studio. However, they were destined to be disappointed. This time, the fertile water would basically not flow into the fields of outsiders. The group left the hotel and went to the Kun Arts Village, which belonged to the film city. The Kun Arts Village of Jinling Film City was actually an apartment-style hotel for the crew to stay. Although the conditions were certainly not as good as those of a five-star hotel, the advantages were that all kinds of facilities were very complete, and the price was low. It was not the first time that Chinda Brothers Pictures had come to Jinling Film City to shoot, so they were very familiar with everything. They had already completed the preparation work. They booked 2 floors as the base camp of the crew, and they could start work at any time. In the conference room of the base camp, Lu Qin met director Fang Hui, as well as the actors who played the girl Inanshi, Han Taishi, Choi Shinai, Shin Yumei, and other important supporting roles. Fang Hui was also very happy to see Lu Qin. When she received a call from Lu Qin for the first time, inviting her to direct Autumn in My Heart, she couldn't believe it. Fang Hui and Lu Qin were not very familiar with each other, and they did not have a deep friendship. They had only worked together on a music video. Although after the shooting of the music video, they had said that they would work together again if there was a chance. But everyone knew that it was just a polite remark. Therefore, she was really very surprised, especially when she heard that the female lead of this TV series was Chen Fei. She felt as if she had been hit by a pie falling from the sky. As a director, Fang Hui was a little famous in the film and television industry, but it was completely incomparable to the real big stars. Her status was equivalent to that of a second or third tier star. Some people would hire her, but they would not spend a lot of money and effort to hire her. And with Chen Fei's status, it was easy to find a director of the same level. So when she learned that Lu Qin was not joking, she did not hesitate to agree. She did not even mention how much the director's salary was. Such an opportunity was too rare. Especially after reading the script of Autumn in My Heart, this feeling of luck was even stronger. Fang Hui liked this story very much. In addition to Fang Hui and the actors, there were also production directors, brokerage managers, assistant directors, cameramen and so on from Chianda Pictures, including Lu Yi, who had dealt with Lu Qin before. For this TV series, Chianda Pictures could be said to have sent out all the elites, and even suspended a TV series that was originally being prepared to shoot Autumn in My Heart with all their might. Lu Yi introduced the other actors to Lu Qin with great enthusiasm. The actress who played the young girl, Inanshi, was called Yi Mingmei. She was only 14 years old this year. She was slender and beautiful. She was still a student in the 3rd year of junior high school. Her father had a good relationship with the boss of Chianda Pictures, so she was recommended to the crew. Compared with Zhang Juanji's lively and active personality, Yi Mingmei was undoubtedly a well-behaved girl. She spoke softly and softly. When she greeted Lu Qin and Chen Fei, she blushed and looked quite cute. Chen Fei, liked her very much. He took her little hand and chatted with her a little more. Han Taishi, the first male supporting role, was a new artist of Chianda Pictures, Hu Yang, who had just made his debut. He was 2 years younger than Lu Qin. He dressed up with the temperament of a rich second generation, which was quite in line with the characters in the TV series. He belonged to the popular young idol. However, in front of Lu Qin and Chen Fei, Hu Yang did not have the slightest arrogance and was very polite and respectful. Because he knew very well who was really in charge of this crew. As for the actors who played Choi Shinai and Shin Yumei, they were also carefully selected by Chianda Pictures. They did not have much fame in the circle, but they all had rich acting experience. In addition, there were several less important actors, some were recommended by Sisterly, and some were relatives of Chianda Pictures. With the arrival of Lu Qin, the crew was really complete, and everyone had a small meeting first. The content of the meeting was mainly about tomorrow's opening ceremony and shooting work. In addition, they also talked about the premiere. Relying on the popularity stirred up on the internet, there were currently 4 or 5 medium-sized TV stations looking for Lu Qin and Chen Fei's studio, as well as Chianda Pictures, in addition to big TV stations such as Beijing TV Station, Haijin TV Station, and Zhejiang TV Station. The opinion of Chianda Pictures was to choose 2 strong and sincere first-run TV stations from them. It didn't matter if the price was low, but they must ensure that it was broadcast in prime time and the key to profit was on the replay. The crew meeting ended after more than an hour. Lu Qin, Chen Fei, and Sisterly returned to the hotel, but he and Chen Fei, quietly went out again. Chapter 236. The sun was setting, and the sun was shining after the rain. It was the evening rush hour, and the roads of Jinling City were full of traffic. People were rushing home from work. No one noticed a bicycle speeding past on the side of the road. The bicycle was rented at the tourist service station. The deposit was 500 yuan, and the rent was 2 yuan per hour. The bicycle was fashionable and of good quality. It allowed people to carry people in the back seat, but it could only be driven on the dedicated lane. Because of the low rent and no risk of theft, this kind of public bicycle was very popular with tourists. Lu Chen pedaled the bicycle, carrying Chen Feier, facing the wind, no different from ordinary tourists. Chen Feier sat in the back, and the cool wind blew her skirt. She hugged Lu Chen's waist, and her head leaned against Lu Chen's back. The Queen of Sweet Song was wearing a scarf, and a pair of blue ink crystal glasses could not cover her stunning face, but it was enough to make passers-by not find out her true identity, so that she could enjoy the time alone with Lu Chen at ease. Such time was really rare, and as precious as gold. On the 10th anniversary of her debut, a reporter asked Chen Feier, "How long are you going to sing?" Chen Feier's answer was, "A lifetime." Unlike her brother Tan Hong, who gradually retired, she liked to sing and stand in the spotlight, because this was her dream since childhood, and she would never give it up easily. However, the more you gain, the more you lose. The glamour of a star is at the expense of private life. Even if she learned the skills of disguise, Chen Feier rarely had time to live an ordinary life. Fortunately, she met Lu Chen. Her life changed. She hugged Lu Chen tighter, and suddenly had a feeling of fear of losing him. Lu Chen did not understand, and asked, "Are you hungry? Let's go eat something. What do you want to eat?" This time, his date with Chen Feier was the first time that no outsiders followed. Chen Feier's assistant and bodyguards did not follow. On the one hand, it was because of her insistence, and on the other hand, Lu Chen had enough ability to protect her, so there would be no problem. Moreover, Jinling was a very safe city. Even so, the two of them still had the thrill of secretly eloping. Chen Feier thought for a moment and said, "I want to eat spicy hot pot. Do you know where I can get it?" Malatang? Of course, Lu Chen didn't know where to eat it, but thanks to the great technology, he only needed to open his phone and search for the keywords, and soon found the nearest place to eat malatang. Following the guidance of the satellite navigation system, Lu Chen drove Chen Feier to the destination in half an hour. It was a very old street, and both sides of the street were lined with delicacies and snacks. There were all kinds of them, and it was too much for the eyes to take in. The street was bustling with people. Chen Fei held on to Lu Chen's arm. The two of them walked through the crowd like an ordinary couple, searching for their own delicacies amidst the various fragrances. They found the restaurant with a high reputation, and waited for more than 10 minutes before there was an empty table. Chen Feier chose more than a dozen skewers of her favorite foods: tenderloin, fried dough sticks, enoki mushrooms, coriander. 2 bowls of cooked spicy hot pot were quickly served. The spicy hot pot of this restaurant had a strong aroma, and the ingredients were fresh and clear. It really lived up to its reputation. Chen Feier ate with relish. She actually ate more than Lu Chen. After eating, it was already dark. Lu Chen took her back to the river for a walk. Because Chen Feier ate too much, she needed to digest the food. When they were tired, the two of them sat on a bench by the river and enjoyed the clear water in front of them. This place was far away from the bustling commercial street. Although there were pedestrians and tourists, it was undoubtedly a lot quieter. Most of them were couples. The air here seemed to be rippling with a romantic atmosphere. Chen Feier touched her belly and let out a low moan. She looked tired and satisfied. She looked like a little woman. Lu Chen laughed at her. "Why do you eat so much? Aren't you afraid of getting a stomachache?" Chen Feier tilted her head and leaned on his shoulder. She murmured, "When I was a child, I was very greedy. I liked the skewers cooked in the pot at the school gate. One time, I was greedy and spent the money to buy textbooks." She paused. Lu Chen couldn't help but ask, "Then what happened?" Chen Feier said, "Then I was beaten by my mother. She slapped my butt with a bamboo ruler. It was so painful. At that time, I thought that when I grew up and made money, I would eat skewers every day, every meal. Later, when I really became rich, I knew that it was unhealthy to eat too much of this kind of thing, just like spicy hot pot. I haven't eaten it for a long time. She narrowed her eyes and recalled the past. A sweet smile appeared on her lips, even when she talked about the pain. Lu Chen smiled. If I have a chance in the future, I will take you out to eat it. Chen Fei turned her head and said with a smile, thank you. She smiled happily. Her smile was breathtakingly beautiful in the light of the roadside lights. It firmly attracted Lu Chen's eyes. Lu Chen stared at the beauty close to him. Suddenly, he couldn't help the impulse in his heart. He reached out and took off the sunglasses she was wearing. Then, he lowered his head and kissed her red lips heavily. Chen Fei's lips were soft and fragrant, with an indescribable sweetness. The heavenly queen of the music industry suddenly opened her eyes wide and instinctively shrank back, but she could not escape. She moaned weakly, closed her eyes, and let Lu Chen take advantage of her. This was the first kiss between the two. After a long time, Lu Chen reluctantly separated because Chen Fei was almost out of breath. She leaned her whole body in Lu Chen's arms, closed her eyes, and breathed like orchids. He didn't know how touching it was. Chen Fei opened her eyes again, and there was a touch of shyness on her delicate face. She suddenly stretched out her arms and hugged Lu Chen's neck. She took the initiative to give a kiss, as if she wanted to rub herself into Lu Chen's body. It was so hot that Lu Chen was about to melt. This kiss lasted even longer. The anxiety in Lu Chen's heart disappeared, and he was immersed in the gentle enjoyment. It wasn't until the sound of a car horn not far away that the two woke up. Chen Fei was embarrassed and let go of Lu Chen. She straightened up and said, let's go. The so-called bottom line was broken step by step like this. She was powerless to stop it. But she couldn't go on, or something would really happen. Lu Chen was a little regretful, but he still said, okay, let's go back to the hotel. He naturally took Chen Fei's hand, and his heart was extremely satisfied. Chen Fei let him hold her hand and said softly, this is my first kiss, but it's not yours, right? Lu Chen smiled bitterly. He really had nothing to say about this. The next day, the crew of Autumn in My Heart held a boot ceremony in Jinling Film City. The boot ceremony was not very grand, but because Chen Fei was the female lead, many media reporters came, and it almost turned into a press conference. The focus of the reporters was, of course, Chen Fei. Today, Chen Fei was in a very good state of mind. She was in high spirits and her eyes were smiling. She was bright and beautiful, and it was unknown how many shutters she had taken, which attracted the attention of the audience. In the face of the reporters' questions, she answered gracefully. A reporter from Entertainment Weekly asked, Chen Fei, is it because of your relationship with Lu Chen that you are the female lead of this TV series? Are you in a relationship? This question was probably what all the reporters wanted to ask. It was well known that the relationship between Lu Chen and Chen Fei was very good. There were even rumors about the two before. Although the two denied that they were in a relationship with a younger brother, the cooperation between the two inevitably made people's imagination run wild. Chen Fei smiled and pulled Lu Chen, who was standing next to her. She hugged him intimately and said, I am very good friends with Lu Chen. As for being in a relationship. She turned her head and asked Lu Chen, who didn't know whether to laugh or cry, are you courting me? Lu Chen thought for a moment, then replied very seriously, then I'll try. Chen Fei laughed. As the two of them sang along, they cleverly avoided the topic. The more they tried to hide it, the more people would guess and fabricate it. On the contrary, they calmly faced each other, which made it difficult for others to figure out the real details. This was the so-called fake is real, and the real is fake. After laughing, Chen Fei said, in fact, after I read the script of this TV series, I took the initiative to ask Lu Chen to play the female lead, because I like the role of Yin Eunhui very much, and I feel that it is very challenging. Chen Fei was not afraid to expose herself. I play Yin Eunhui in the TV series, and she is the younger sister of Yin Juanxi, who is played by Lu Qin. She was several years older than Lu Qin. However, Chen Fei had never been shy about talking about her age, so she took the initiative to reveal it before the reporter asked. Another reporter asked, "Mr. Lu Qin, how do you feel about acting with Chen Fei?" Lu Qin replied, "I don't feel anything, because I haven't acted in it yet." The reporter asked, "Do you feel pressured?" Lu Qin replied, "I didn't feel pressured at first, but after you asked, I suddenly felt pressured." Everyone laughed at once. Lu Qin's answer was very sophisticated, and he did not leave any loopholes for these reporters. A reporter asked Chen Fei again, "When will your new album be released?" Chen Fei replied, "Next month. In addition, I will also sing the theme song of this TV series, which may be included in the new album. In short, it will definitely give everyone a surprise." The opening ceremony was only the first half an hour of the ceremony, and the rest was almost a personal interview with Chen Fei. Even Lu Qin only got a few questions. But no one felt that there was anything wrong with this. To put it bluntly, the reason why Autumn in My Heart could get so much attention was that Chen Fei contributed at least 90%. After the opening ceremony, Autumn in My Heart officially entered the shooting stage. However, Lu Qin and Chen Fei did not participate in the shooting, because they did not have scenes in the first 2 episodes, so they did not need to stay here. The most important thing was that the two needed to return to Beijing to participate in a very important event. That was the shooting of the Dedication of Love public service advertisement of the Yanhuang Charity Association. Chapter 237. The song, Dedication of Love, was put out by Lu Qin to thank those people inside and outside the circle who supported the charity crowdfunding project and was put on the Inspire blog. He never thought of seeking benefits or fame by relying on this song. There was no need for that at all. However, Lu Qin did not expect that the great god of Yanhuang Charity Association actually took a fancy to Dedication of Love, came to buy the license, and invited him to participate in the MV of the public service advertisement. Lu Qin directly gave a free permanent license. Later, Chen Fei told him that he did the right thing. Whether in China or abroad, there are many benefits for star artists to do charity or to establish a good cooperative relationship with authoritative charities. In China, the reputation of charity is like adding a layer of amulet to oneself, and people always look up to them. For example, Chen Fei herself has long-term cooperation and exchanges with Yanhuang Charity Association. Like Lu Qin, she will also participate in the public service advertisement of Dedication of Love. On the way back from Jinling to Jinling, Lu Qin and Chen Fei sat in the same car. Because the work later involved the arrangement of Yanhuang Charity Association, she revealed a lot of inside information. Last year and this year, there was a lot of trouble in the domestic charity world, which had a big impact on the image of the public. Although these were not all Yanhuang Charity Association's fault, as the top existence in the domestic charity structure, the association was also passive. The pressure from the top made them urgently need to carry out publicity and re-erect a good image. It was at this time that Lu Qin carried out charity crowdfunding through the crowdfunding website, which caused a great impact on the internet. His creation of Dedication of Love is very much in line with the taste of Yanhuang Charity Association. Otherwise, how could such a good thing fall on Lu Qin's head? Looking at the list of stars selected to participate in the public service advertisement, Li Xing, Tan Hong, Chen Fei, Lu Zhonghan, Shi Rong, and so on are all big figures. Including Lu Qin himself, the final list was 15 stars, all of whom were more famous than him. Moreover, the director of this public service announcement was the famous director Yu Jinda. This 60-year-old director had filmed more than 20 movies and had won awards at international film festivals. He enjoyed a high reputation. Zhang Wendian, who Lu Qin knows, is also a big director, but compared with Yu Jinda, he is at least a little worse. Chen Fei said, "If you are chosen by director Yu to make a movie, you will really reach the sky in one step." Lu Qin laughed involuntarily. He knew that Chen Fei was joking, and he was also reminding him to take this job seriously. Even if he didn't earn a single cent. Lu Chen held Chen Fei's hand and said, "It's better for me to be the director and make a movie myself, and you'll be the heroine for me. Let's reach the sky together, okay?" Chen Fei felt sweet and said, "You still want to be a director? All right then, as long as you can act in a movie, I'll be the female lead for you. You can't go back on your word." Lu Chen laughed. Chen Fei didn't take it seriously, but he was serious. However, it would take a long time for this idea to be realized. At present, his accumulation was too little. He had to take it one step at a time. Now Lu Chen was walking very fast. It was too easy to fall if he sped up and ran. The Mercedes-Benz carrying the two of them sped along the Jinjing Expressway and returned to the capital before dark. Chen Fei first sent Lu Chen back to the apartment. Although the two of them kissed in Jinling, because of career reasons, this relationship was not going to be public for the time being. Again, Lu Chen rose too fast, and his foundation and accumulation were not enough. Once the relationship between the two of them was made public, he would be under great pressure, which would seriously hinder the development of his career. The simplest was the media reporters. Those paparazzi would inevitably stare at him every day and disturb his peace. There had been precedents for this kind of situation, which was not what Lu Chen wanted to see. So at present, the two could only be dating in secret, and it would not be too late to make it public when the time was right in the future. Another very important aspect was that the separation of men and women in the entertainment industry was too common. There were really few who could stick to it for a long time. Even if they broke up in secret, it would not make a big deal. This was also the norm in the circle. On November 18th, the second day after Lu Chen returned to the capital, he arrived at the scheduled place. Participating in the shooting of the MV of the public service advertisement Dedication of Love. The gathering point of star actors and singers was at the headquarters of Flying Stone Records. Lu Chen was also familiar with the place. In the VIP lounge, he met many famous people, such as Li Xing, Tan Hong, Chen Fei, and Lu Zhonghan. He also met Liao Jia, Shi Rong, and other big names in the pop music and show business for the first time. Yu Jianda was also present. The director, who was renowned both at home and abroad, was tall and sturdy. He had a square face, and his white hair was braided. He was wearing a gray shirt with an open collar, navy blue trousers, and black cloth shoes. He had a sage-like demeanor. It was said that this director Yu was a devout Taoist. When he was a teenager, he learned martial arts in Wudang Mountain. In the 1990s, he also made a movie called Wudang Mountain, which caused a considerable sensation in China. The time for the meeting was 9:30 in the morning, but just after 9 o'clock, all the stars were already in place. No star dared to act like a big shot in such a thing. Even if they were shooting movies or TV shows in other places, they would specially ask for leave to rush back to the capital, not to mention being late, that would cause public anger. It was still early, so everyone sat and chatted. The entertainment industry could be said to be very big, but in fact, it was also very small. Two characters who were originally not related to each other could have a close connection through a third party, and there were countless people who knew each other and had friendship with each other. Some of them were friends, and they hadn't seen each other for a long time. Now that they met here, it was another surprise. Brother Tan Hong. Lu Chen first looked for Tan Hong. The singing superstar is now basically in a state of retirement. It is said that he will hold a farewell concert at the end of the year, announcing his official withdrawal from the pop music world. So since the end of the Singing China competition, Lu Chen hasn't seen Tan Hong again. But he has always remembered Tan Hong's help and support for him. Tan Hong smiled and patted Lu Chen on the arm and said, "Xiao Lu, long time no see. I've often seen your name on the blog recently. You've done a good job." He looked meaningfully at Chen Fei, who was standing beside him, and said with a smile, "I heard that Fei has been abducted to be the heroine now. That's amazing." Lu Chen smiled bitterly. Chen Fei's pretty face reddened, and she said angrily, "Brother Tan Hong." Tan Hong laughed and said, "No kidding, Xiao Lu, let me introduce you to some teachers." Among this group of people, Lu Chen is definitely a junior, and his status in the circle is far worse than theirs. If it were any other newcomer, encountering such a rare opportunity, they would probably have the cheek to strike up a conversation, and even flatter for attention, hoping to be able to say a few words with these big shots. To stay in the entertainment industry for a long time, networking is really important. Oftentimes, the big brother above leaks something out, and it's enough for the people below to eat their fill. Lu Chen was different from ordinary newcomers. Although his appearance was modest, he had a proud and unyielding character. He would never take the initiative to ingratiate himself with others. But with Tan Hong's introduction, the situation is completely different. This is Liao Jia, teacher Liao. Tan Hong first introduced Lu Chen to Liao Jia, a big brother in the pop music world. Liao Jia is very legendary in the circle. He was born in the early 1970s, debuted in the late 1980s, and became popular in the 1990s because of rock and roll. He is one of the representatives of light rock and roll. Liao Jia has a very good relationship with the Black Ravens, a national rock band active in the late 1980s and early 1990s. They have released 3 albums with a total sales of more than 20 million, and are regarded as the mainstay of national rock and roll. Gao Yi, the lead singer and soul of the Black Ravens, is Liao Jia's mentor. Later, Gao Yi accidentally fell off the stage during the concert rehearsal, resulting in a serious skull injury, and eventually died in Chaoyang People's Hospital at the age of 32. Gao Yi's unexpected death is undoubtedly a heavy blow to national rock. The Black Ravens, which has always been a leading role, has since been unable to recover and disbanded 2 years later, leaving national rock fans with endless sorrow. Liao Jia resolutely took over Gao Yi's rock and roll banner, formed the Black Memory Band, released 2 albums, and also opened a national concert tour, and was regarded as the successor of national rock. However, because of the impact of the general environment, national rock quickly declined, and Liao Jia and the Black Memory Band were unable to turn the tide. At the beginning of 2000, the Black Memory Band almost disbanded. In order to survive and continue, Liao Jia changed to light rock and even love songs, and also wrote works for other singers. At that time, he was regarded as a traitor by many national rock fans, but he achieved greater success and established his position in the music industry. This big brother of the music industry is in his 40s this year. He is not very tall, and his appearance is very ordinary. He has small eyes and thin cheekbones, and his face is a little fierce. His face is bumpy, and he looks like a big brother in a black suit. "Hello, Teacher Liao." Lu Chen held out his hands to him. "I've listened to your songs since I was a child." When Tan Hong introduced him to Lu Chen, Liao Jia stared at Lu Chen with bright eyes until Lu Chen held out his hand. A smile appeared on his face. "Hello." Liao Jia's hand is a little cold, the skin is very rough, and the knuckles of his fingers are very strong. Lu Chen felt his strength when he shook hands with him. Tan Hong said with a smile, "Xiao Lu is very talented. Old Liao, please take care of him in the future and guide the newcomer." Liao Jia let go of his hand and said with a faint smile, "Since you said so, of course I have to give you face." Lu Chen politely said, "Thank you, Teacher Liao." He keenly felt that this big brother of the music industry in front of him seems to have a little hostility towards him. Chapter 238. Of course, Lu Chen knows Liao Jia. He listened to Liao Jia's songs when he was in junior high school. To this day, the album Antarctica by the band Black Memory is still stored in his hometown. The latter's Ivy House and Old Guy are well-known rock classics. But meeting him in person, that is, today. So, Lu Chen was very puzzled in his heart. Why would Liao Jia be hostile to him? The other party has been on the road for more than 20 years, while he has only been on the road for a few months. The two sides have never had any intersection. Of course, on the surface, Lu Chen remained calm and polite. "Please give me more advice." Liao Jia's mouth twitched. "You're welcome." It stands to reason that Tan Hong should be able to see something wrong, but he turned a blind eye and pulled Lu Chen to see Yu Jinda again. "Director Yu, this is Lu Chen, Tan Hong introduced him to Lu Chen, the creator of Dedication of Love. Lu Chen hurriedly bowed and saluted. "Hello, teacher Yu." "Hello, hello." Yu Jinda said with a smile, "You're really young and promising. This song is well written and full of energy." For this great director, this was already a rare compliment. Lu Chen was modest. "Thank you, teacher Yu, for your praise." Yu Jinda said with a smile, "I heard Brother Tian talk about you, saying that you are very talented in writing." Lu Chen knew that the brother Wen Tian mentioned by the other party must be referring to Zhang Wendian. The two are directors of the same generation, and it's normal to have a deep friendship with each other. It's just that he didn't expect that Zhang Wendian actually mentioned his name to Yu Jinda. This made Lu Chen feel a little flattered. In the entertainment industry, when it comes to status, the director is always at the forefront. The prestige and honor enjoyed by a great director like Yu Jinda is not comparable to that enjoyed by star artists. And only he can easily suppress more than a dozen top figures present. Yu Jinda's attitude towards Lu Chen is very good. I don't know if he really cherishes his talent. He also asked his assistant to give him a business card, saying that he can cooperate with him if he has the opportunity. This made the other star actors present look at Lu Chen. With the introduction of Tan Hong, Lu Chen has unknowingly gained a foothold in this small circle. Don't look at this small circle being formed temporarily. Everyone will go their separate ways after the shooting of the music video. Being able to be in it is a success. It's not easy to get the recognition of the members in the circle. It's really thanks to Tan Hong. Said, Tan Hong has always taken good care of, and has taken. Chen. Like Chen Fei, could still write songs, but Tan Hong was about to quit the singing world. The meeting was held at 9:30 sharp. The host was Yu Jinda. The great director briefly explained the content of the public service advertisement to everyone, as well as the work arrangements. He only spoke for 10 minutes, and then asked everyone to go to the recording studio. 15 star artists sang Dedication of Love together. Not only was the recording completed in the recording studio of Flying Stone Records, but even part of the music video content was also the same, filming the process of them recording and singing. Dedication of Love is a song with very low difficulty to sing. As a public service advertisement, it doesn't require much good singing skills, so it's basically passed after singing it a few times. Most of the work is actually post-production correction and synthesis. Tan Hong, Liao Jia, and Chen Fei are one after another, and some are two or more together. In the end, all 15 people sang together, and the recording and video were completed simultaneously. At noon, everyone ate a boxed lunch at Flying Stone Records. Although these stars present are all very rich, no one is dissatisfied with a boxed lunch of dozens of yuan. After lunch, the team moved to the orphanage under the Yanhuang Charity Association to continue shooting. Stars, especially big stars, are always full of work. It's really not easy for so many people to squeeze out time to participate in the shooting of this music video at the same time, and it's completely free. Including Yu Jinda, to be honest, his biggest role is to calm the scene, not to direct. The Charity Association can understand this. The quality of this public service advertisement is not high. It's enough to embody the core idea of the theme. The participation of 15 stars is the biggest highlight. In addition, they were well prepared in advance, so the shooting in the orphanage went very smoothly. Director Yu personally directed the shooting, and it was all shot before the sun went down. It was as easy as cutting melons and vegetables. The rest is the post-production work. Such efficiency is simply outrageous, but it's normal for this kind of star public service advertisement. After the shooting, everyone took the bus back to Flying Stone Records, and then went back to their homes. When they came out, Lu Chen was thinking about whether to ask Chen Fei, to have dinner together, but he was stopped by a young man in a suit and leather shoes. The other party had a crew-cut hair and sunglasses, and looked very capable. He said politely to Lu Chen, "Mr. Lu Chen, Brother Liao asked me to come over and ask if you are free in the evening. He wants to have dinner with you and have a chat with you. Do you think that's okay?" "Brother Liao?" "Liao Jia." Lu Chen raised his eyebrows, put the cell phone he had just taken out back into his pocket and said, "No problem." Under the young man's guidance, Lu Chen boarded Liao Jia's car. Liao Jia's car is a Jeep G790 off-road vehicle, which has a rough and solid appearance and strong power, and a price of more than 1 million. In the circle, Liao Jia is famous for his love of making friends and traveling. It is said that he once formed a motorcade with his friends across the no-man's land in Xizjiang. He is a typical stubborn person. Seeing Lu Chen, the rock and roll big brother asked, "Can you eat spicy food?" Lu Chen was stunned, but nodded, "Yes." "That's good." Liao Jia reached out and patted the young man with a crew cut who had just sat in the driver's seat. "Shaoli, go to 4th Street. He turned his head and said to Lu Chen, 4th Street's Sichuan cuisine is the most authentic. There is a restaurant that makes spicy crayfish very well. I haven't forgotten it since I ate it last time. This time it's a good time to eat." Lu Chen smiled and said, "Teacher Liao, your introduction is definitely correct." "Don't call me teacher," Liao Jia waved his hand and said, "It sounds too awkward. Just call me Brother Liao." Lu Chen said, "Okay, Brother Liao." Liao Jia smiled. "You must be wondering why I invited you over for dinner, right?" Lu Chen asked tentatively, "Brother Liao, do you have something to say to me?" He was really a little strange. When they first met, Liao Jia was a little hostile to him, but now it was gone. It seemed that Liao Jia just wanted to invite him to dinner and chat with him to get to know each other. But Lu Chen knew that things were not that simple. Liao Jia was definitely not out of his mind. Liao Jia said, "Let's go to 4th Street to eat and talk." Ring ring. As soon as Liao Jia's voice fell, Lu Chen's cell phone in his pocket suddenly rang. He said sorry, then took out his cell phone and answered it. "Lu Chen, where are you?" It was Chen Fei, who called Lu Chen. Just now, under the watchful eyes of Flying Stone Records, it was not good for the two to secretly communicate, but now their hearts were connected. Lu Chen said, "I'm in the car. Liao Jia, Brother Liao invited me to dinner." "Brother Liao?" Chen Fei's voice was a little strange, and immediately said, "Then you eat. Remember not to drink too much." Lu Chen didn't think much and replied, "Okay." After ending the call, Liao Jia suddenly asked, "Is the caller Chen Fei?" Lu Chen, he didn't expect Liao Jia's guess to be so accurate, or did he hear the voice? Liao Jia said with a smile, "You don't have to hide it. Brother Tan told me that you and Fei are dating." Lu Chen was speechless. It was impossible to hide the secret relationship between him and Chen Fei from everyone. The relationship between Tan Hong and Chen Fei was like that of brother and sister. It was normal to know something. It was just that Tan Hong actually told Liao Jia about this, which was a bit unusual. Tan Hong was definitely not the kind of person who liked to gossip. He vaguely understood. Liao Jia reached out and patted Lu Chen on the shoulder and said, "Lu Chen, you are the luckiest person in the world. Do you know? In fact, I've liked Fei for a long time, and have pursued her for at least 10 years, but she has never taken me seriously. She only treats me as an ordinary friend." Sure enough. Lu Chen knew that there were many people pursuing Chen Fei. She had been involved in a lot of scandals. Although they were not true, it was enough to show that she had many pursuers. He didn't expect Liao Jia to be one of them. Lu Chen said with a wry smile, "Can I say that I'm honored?" Liao Jia laughed and said, "It's true that I'm very jealous. Apart from you, she has never had any other boyfriends. I asked Shaoli to invite you here because I wanted to see what kind of man could move Fei. There was a little disappointment in his laughter. "Now it seems that you are definitely much more handsome than me." Lu Chen said lightly, "Fei is not that shallow." Liao Jia's words made Lu Chen unhappy. What did he mean by much more handsome? Although it was true, he said it as if he was a gigolo, and Chen Fei took a fancy to this. Liao Jia said with a smile, "That's right, your talent is better than mine. At least I can't write a song like in the spring." Liao Jia had written many songs, but his real classic works were basically written by others. Lu Chen shook his head and did not explain. When two people get along, appearance and talent were all external conditions. The most important thing was the feeling between them. Without that feeling, no matter how handsome and talented Lu Chen was, he would not be able to move Chen Fei. However, he didn't need to say this to Liao Jia. Those who understood would naturally understand, and those who didn't might never understand. Apart from his identity as a singer, Liao Jia was actually an ordinary person. His emotions were no different from others. But he was right about one thing. Lu Chen was the luckiest person in the world. Chapter 239. Simi Street was one of the few street stalls in Beijing. Due to the noise and pollution problems, Beijing had banned all-night stalls more than a decade ago. However, the people and tourists had such needs, so they reopened the night stalls in specific areas and regulated the management. It became the favorite place for foodies who knew the business. Many diners firmly believed that they could only taste authentic food in places like street stalls. The so-called big hotels and high-end restaurants only relied on face. Regardless of whether this view was correct or not, there was no doubt that the business on 4th Line Street was good, especially at sunset and dusk. The shops along the street were all lit up, and the rows of red lanterns looked especially festive and auspicious. The entrances of those street stalls and restaurants were filled with tables and chairs. There weren't many empty seats at mealtime. The air was filled with the fragrance of all kinds of delicious food. Steamed, boiled, stir-fried, fried. It made people feel that life was beautiful. Simi Street was a pedestrian street, so cars could only be parked in the parking lot outside. When they got out of the car, Liao Jia put on a pair of sunglasses and gave one to Lu Chen. "Bring it along. People like us aren't ourselves anymore." Lu Chen pondered over the deeper meaning of his words and did not refuse his kindness. He put on his sunglasses. The stall that Liao Jia brought Lu Chen to eat at was called Old Zhu Sichuan Restaurant. Its main dish was authentic Sichuan cuisine, and it also sold spicy crayfish. Its business was even more prosperous than the stove in front of the door. But there was a small table outside reserved for them. Liao Jia naturally sat on the white plastic chair and said with a smile, "Shaoli knows the boss, so he called in advance to reserve a table. Otherwise, he wouldn't have found an empty table now." Shaoli was the energetic young man with a crew cut. He was Liao Jia's assistant and driver, the kind of person who didn't speak much. Lu Chen sat opposite him and said with a smile, "Then let's have a taste of the chef's cooking." Shaoli waved his hand and asked the waiter. He first asked for Liao Jia and Lu Chen's opinions before he began to order. Pickled fish with pickled cabbage and chili, mapo tofu, twice cooked pork, duck blood curd, and 5 pounds of spicy crayfish. "I want a big one." After Shaoli finished ordering, Liao Jia asked Lu Chen, "Is there enough food? Why don't you order some that you like?" Lu Chen said, "That's enough." "Thank you, brother Liao." Liao Jia said with a smile, "You don't have to thank me yet. Since you're eating with me, you have to drink. How about some beer?" Based on his usual temper, he would definitely make Lu Chen drink Red Star Erguo the moment he caught him. However, although he was unhappy with Lu Chen, he still admired Lu Chen's talent in composing and gave him face. When Liao Jia first heard the song, "In the Spring," by the Bionics, he was really shocked. Later, when he heard that it was written by a young man in his early 20s, he couldn't believe it. In this aspect, he admitted defeat to Lu Chen and had been looking for an opportunity to meet Lu Chen. In the end, before he even met Lu Chen, he found out about the relationship between Lu Chen and Chen Fei, from Tanhong. At that time, Liao Jia really felt like he was in deep shit. In short, Liao Jia's thoughts were very complicated. It wasn't that he wanted to be jealous of Lu Chen or anything. He was not that narrow-minded, but he was really unhappy that he couldn't vent his anger. So, today, he took the opportunity to stop Lu Chen. The most important thing was that Liao Jia wanted to see what kind of man Chen chose was. Moreover, Tan Hong deliberately introduced Lu Chen to him, obviously hoping that the two could become friends. If one wanted to be Liao Jia's friend, one couldn't not drink. Lu Chen pondered for a moment and said, "Okay." Snap. Liao Jia snapped his fingers and said, "Buddy, bring us 2 more boxes of Budweiser." The 2 boxes of Budweiser were delivered first. Shaoli skillfully tore open the seal and took out 2 bottles of beer, one for Liao Jia and one for Lu Chen. Liao Jia held the bottle, unscrewed the cap, and said to Lu Chen, "Come, let's have a drink first." Lu Chen couldn't help but laugh. He also opened the bottle and clinked it with the other person's bottle. Cheers. He now had a better understanding of Liao Jia's temperament. The evaluation of Liao Jia in the circle was mixed. Unlike Tan Hong, who everyone respected, some people thought that Liao Jia was easy to get along with, straightforward, and didn't play dirty. Others thought that he was too arrogant and liked to scold people and lose his temper. Today, he really lived up to his reputation. Lu Chen knew that if this kind of person had a good temper, then they could become excellent friends. If they didn't, then no matter how you looked at them, you would hate them. Staying away from them was the wisest choice. If they couldn't afford to offend them, then they could avoid them. Liao Jia liked Chen Fei, and even pursued her, but in the end, he didn't succeed even after 10 years. If he could still smile and call Lu Chen brother, then Lu Chen would definitely hide as far away as possible. Now that he came to talk to Lu Chen directly, it was obvious that he was able to take it easy and didn't have any bad intentions. However, he was definitely still unhappy. Drinking with Lu Chen was just a way to vent his anger. At this time, if Lu Chen still hesitated and refused, not only would he lose face, but he would also be looking down on Liao Jia. Therefore, he happily drank a bottle of wine. Of course, Lu Chen's alcohol tolerance couldn't be compared to a real drunkard. However, drinking beer with a very low alcohol content, it probably wouldn't be a problem for him to drink until he was full. Also, this kind of hardcover Budweiser was only 330 milliliters, so the pressure was even lower. After each of them drank a bottle, Liao Jia was a little satisfied. Not bad, like a man. I hate those little fresh meats the most. They have oily hair and pale faces. Just looking at them makes me want to puke. Another bottle. Lu Chen drank 3 bottles with him without changing his expression. Liao Jia put down the empty bottle, let out a long breath of alcohol and said, "Awesome." Lu Chen laughed, opened another bottle and said, "Here's to brother Liao." It was impolite not to reciprocate. If people respect me a foot, I will respect them tenfold. Although Lu Chen has 3 rich life memories, he is far more mature than his peers, and calm in the face of trouble. However, this didn't mean that he didn't have a temper. If it was any other newcomer, they would definitely tremble in fear when facing a big brother like Liao Jia, not daring to go tit for tat. Lu Chen wasn't like that. He didn't ask for anything from Liao Jia, so he didn't have any fear in his heart. Since he wanted to drink, he couldn't let the other party control the rhythm. Liao Jia was a little surprised, but he didn't show any weakness. Without thinking, he opened a bottle and drank with Lu Chen. Another 3 bottles were drunk. The 2 only had a lunch box at noon. In the afternoon, they were filming a music video at the orphanage, so their stomachs were already empty. After drinking 6 bottles of Budweiser, Liao Jia's face began to turn red, and he was a little tipsy. In contrast, Lu Chen's expression didn't change. He was still the same as before. He never showed his face when he drank, even when he was drunk. Liao Jia suddenly had a bad feeling because he couldn't judge Lu Chen's alcohol tolerance. People who drank were most afraid of meeting this kind of opponent. Getting Lu Chen drunk to vent his anger seemed to be a wrong choice. Fortunately, the hot dishes were served at this time. Liao Jia quickly said, "Let's eat first." The craftsmanship of Lao Zhu's Sichuan restaurant was really good. The dishes were authentic, especially the fish with pickled cabbage and chili. The meat was so tender that it melted in the mouth. The 4 distinct flavors were sour, spicy, numb, and fresh. Lu Chen was full of praise for it. The spicy crayfish was also very good. A large basin full of peeled meat was eaten, and he simply couldn't stop. Because he couldn't figure out Lu Chen's background, Liao Jia no longer tried to compete with Lu Chen in drinking. Instead, he slowly fought a war of attrition, bottle by bottle. Even so, he didn't ask his assistant, Shaoli, to help him deal with Lu Chen. After drinking too much, Liao Jia's chatterbox also opened up, and he rambled on about a lot of things. It was all old events, mainly about rock and roll. He said that when he and the Black Ravens held a concert in the Capitol Workers' Stadium, tens of thousands of rock and roll fans roared in unison. Thinking about it still made his blood boil. Now he was making a lot more money than before, but he could no longer find that feeling. He didn't even dare to hold a concert, for fear of being scolded by the fans of national rock. He was the traitor of national rock. Lu Chen drank and listened more than he spoke. He could feel the hesitation and pain in Liao Jia's heart. For those former rock and roll singers, survival or death was really a big problem. Gradually, more and more empty bottles were placed on the table. Liao Jia's face was red from drinking, and his tongue was loose from talking. Lu Chen was also a little drunk. "Sir, would you like to order a song?" At this moment, a man and a woman came over. The man was still holding a guitar in his arms. The two looked in their early 20s, and they should be a young couple, dressed rather shabbily. There were countless Beijing drifting singers in the capital, and many of them performed on the streets. Those who had the ability to apply for a license to perform on land, and there were also such mobile singers, who were relatively of a lower level. Because this kind of wandering in the street was often not high level, and some of them were not even real singers at all. Liao Jia laughed. He took out a large bill from his pocket and handed it over. "There's no need to order a song. Lend me your guitar for a while, I'll sing it myself." This was Liao Jia's unruly side. If it were any other big shot, they would not do such a degrading thing. But it was also his true nature. The singing couple had probably never encountered such a thing before, and they looked at each other in dismay. Lu Chen smiled and said, "Don't worry, I won't damage your guitars." He had been at the bottom of society before, and he knew that the other party was worried that Liao Jia would damage their guitars when he was drunk. The other party's guitar was not too bad, at least 1,000 or 2,000 yuan. It was normal to cherish it. The young man hesitated for a moment, but he still let his girlfriend take the bill and took off the guitar himself. He was very worried about Liao Jia, who was dressed like a gangster boss, but Lu Chen was obviously trustworthy. Liao Jia took the guitar and skillfully tried the tuning. He muttered, "It's not even tuned properly, and you can still sing?" The young man suddenly blushed. Liao Jia ignored him, adjusted it, and then strummed the steel string. Chapter 240. 4th Street was very lively at night, and the doors of the food stalls and restaurants along the street were full of diners. Liao Jia's temperament was different from ordinary people. He didn't care whether he would expose his identity in public or not. When he was drunk, he borrowed the guitar and sang on the spot. His style could be described as bold and unrestrained. However, there were very few rock singers who didn't know how to play the guitar, and rock singers had the highest number of guitar masters. Liao Jia's guitar playing was definitely at the master level. Without even using a guitar pick, a series of passionate notes poured out from his fingers. The original owner of the guitar was stunned, and it also attracted the attention of many diners around them. Lu Chen couldn't help laughing. Because Liao Jia was talking about, in the spring, but he added his own things in the prelude. This national idol definitely lived up to his reputation. "I still remember the spring many years ago, when I hadn't cut my long hair, no credit card, no home with 24-hour hot water. But I was so happy at that time, although I only had a broken wooden guitar, on the street, under the bridge, in the field, singing the song that no one cared about." Liao Jia's singing was deep and hoarse. Because he had drunk a lot of wine, he couldn't give full play to his strength, and he didn't control his breath very well. But listening to him sing, in the spring, at the top of his voice in this bustling downtown still gave people a very shocking feeling. The diners on 4th Street had seen many singers in the food stalls, so they were already used to it. But they rarely saw the diners singing by themselves, and singing so well. If one day, I have no one to rely on, please leave me here, in that time. If one day, I leave quietly, please bury me here, in the spring. At the climax of the chorus, strong emotions gushed out. Liao Jia's face turned purple, and the blue veins on his neck and forehead bulged, as if he had exhausted all his strength. The sonorous sound of the guitar seemed to knock on everyone's heart. At this time, the passers-by all stopped, and some raised their mobile phones. Even Lu Chen was infected by his singing. After Liao Jia sang the first time, he nodded at Lu Chen, indicating that he should sing as well. Lu Chen replied with a ha and did not reject Liao Jia's invitation. He picked up an empty bottle on the table and held it upside down as a microphone, singing along with the accompaniment. Lu Chen was also a little drunk. His singing style of In the Spring was obviously different from Liao Jia's. It was not rough and hoarse, nor did it have the deep vicissitudes of life, but it contained the same burning emotions. I still remember those lonely spring days, when I didn't even have a beard, no Valentine's Day, no presents, no my cute little princess, but I don't think it's that bad, even though I only have illusions about love, in the morning, in the night, in the wind, singing the song that no one cares about. This wasn't the first time Lu Chen had sung In the Spring. Although he had sold the song to the Bionics, he still liked this song very much. However, from the first time he sang this song to the second time, his life had changed tremendously. The emotions of the song were also very different. He had more life insights that belonged to him. Singing to his heart's content, Lu Chen ignored the gazes from the surrounding people and sang with Liao Jia. They were like two crazy people who had too much to drink. But a crazy person who could play the guitar so well and sing so well, perhaps he could only find one in Beijing. Awesome. After singing In the Spring, Liao Jia growled and picked up the beer on the table and drank it all in one breath. Clap. 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 There was uneven applause around, and someone whistled loudly. There were also foreigners among the diners, who gave the two a thumbs up. Liao Jia put down the guitar and then returned it to the young man who sang. The young man took the guitar and asked tentatively, May I ask if you are that? Liao Jia was wearing sunglasses, but the sunglasses couldn't cover his whole face. The more he looked, the more familiar he felt. Liao Jia laughed and said, You want to ask if I am Liao Jia? Hee, many people have asked me. In fact, I feel that I am more handsome than Liao Jia, and I sing better than him. The young man was speechless and lost interest in continuing to explore. He continued to sing with his girlfriend to make money. He thought about it and realized that it couldn't be Liao Jia, but the person in front of him could totally be on the Celebrity Impersonator show. Friend, sing another song. The young couple had just left when someone at the next table shouted, Sing a few more songs, I'll pay the bill. There were 5 people at that table, all young people in their 20s or 30s. They were all strong, like the trainers of a fitness club coming out for a meal. Some of them even had tattoos on their arms. These people also drank a lot, and the table was full of empty bottles. The guy who asked Liao Jia to sing another song had long hair, his breath reeking of alcohol, and his eyes were wandering. When he spoke, he waved his arms vigorously. Liao Jia was in the mood just now, so he borrowed the guitar and shouted a few times to vent all the depression in his heart. Now that he was in a good mood after shouting, how could he sing for others? He was not a singer. Come on, let's continue drinking. Liao Jia didn't even look at the other person and said to Lu Chen, Let's not stop until we're drunk tonight. F***CK. Before Lu Chen could answer, the long-haired young man was angry. He suddenly stood up with bloodshot eyes and shouted at Liao Jia, I'm giving you face by asking you to sing. Don't be so shameless. Shaoli immediately stood in front of Liao Jia and said coldly, Friend, you've drunk too much. The long-haired young man had indeed drunk too much, so his rationality had dropped to the bottom. Without thinking, he picked up the bottle on the table and stepped forward to smash it at Xiaoli. As Liao Jia's personal assistant, Xiaoli was certainly not an ordinary person. Without waiting for the other person's bottle to hit him, he quickly kicked the other person's stomach. He could dodge if he wanted to, but Liao Jia was behind him. Therefore, he could only fight back. The long-haired young man couldn't dodge in time. He staggered back with a muffled groan and bent over like a cooked prawn. However, he didn't fall to the ground. His expression became extremely ferocious as he roared, F***ck. The long-haired young man's physique was quite strong to be able to speak after being kicked in the stomach. It was also Xiaoli who controlled his strength. However, he obviously wouldn't appreciate it. Instead, he flew into a rage. Cripple him. The long-haired young man's 4 companions exploded at the same time and pounced at Xiaoli. Xiaoli's expression changed instantly. He had practiced kickboxing before. It wasn't a problem for him to deal with a few ordinary people, but these people were obviously not ordinary people. If 4 or 5 people surrounded him, he would definitely be at a disadvantage. Xiaoli wasn't afraid of being at a disadvantage. Even if his limbs were broken, he would definitely be able to get them back later. However, if something were to happen to Liao Jia, his job would be completely ruined. Thinking of the serious consequences, Xiaoli gritted his teeth and charged forward instead of retreating. His idea was to stall the other party. As long as someone called the police, he would be safe when the police arrived. This was Beijing, and public security had always been good. The 110 police were dispatched very quickly. Plop. To Xiaoli's surprise, just as he took a step forward, one of the long-haired young man's companions suddenly lost his balance and fell heavily to the ground. The person who helped him was none other than Lu Qin. Seeing that the situation wasn't right, Lu Qin stood up without a word and swept out with his right leg. He took down the guy closest to him first, causing him to lose his ability to fight. This guy was aiming for Liao Jia. The next moment, Lu Qin accelerated and charged forward like a hunting leopard. He suddenly turned sideways and slammed his shoulder into the second opponent, sending him flying. This unlucky guy crashed into his companion and even knocked over a table. The encirclement instantly collapsed. As for the long-haired young man, he recovered and flew into a rage when he saw the situation. He straightened his back and swung his fist at Lu Chen's face, using all his strength. Lu Chen stopped and turned around. He raised his right arm and pushed his elbow outwards to block the other party's fist. His left palm slashed out like lightning and hit the latter's throat. Ugh! The long-haired young man with an aggressive aura immediately rolled his eyes. His knees went weak and he knelt on the ground in pain. He covered his throat with his hand and vomited, but nothing came out. In the blink of an eye, Lu Chen had taken down 3 people. Xiaoli seized the opportunity and punched another person in the face, knocking him to the ground. The last person was scared out of his wits. He scrambled to the street, leaving his companions behind. At that moment, the entrance of Old Zhu Sichuan restaurant was in chaos. Some people were screaming, some were laughing, some were calling the police, and some were taking pictures. Li Gu, I'll leave this to you. Lu Chen took care of his opponent and immediately ran away with Liao Jia, who had just grabbed a bottle of wine. Xiaoli kicked a guy who was struggling to get up and said without turning his head, "Don't worry." He could stay here and wait for the police to come, but Liao Jia and Lu Chen couldn't. Once their identities were exposed, they would definitely make the headlines tomorrow. There were already people taking pictures at the scene. Liao Jia was dragged to the street by Lu Chen, and his drunken brain finally sobered up a lot. He threw the bottle of wine in his hand into the trash can on the street and grabbed Lu Chen's shoulder. He panted and said, "Lu Chen, it's all thanks to you this time. I'll recognize you as a friend from now on." Lu Chen mixed into the crowd with Liao Jia and said slowly, "It's nothing. It's just a small matter." Helping Liao Jia was secondary. The most important thing was that he rarely let go and fought to his heart's content. Drinking, fighting. It had been a long time since he had such a good time. Liao Jia sighed and said, Fei chose you for a reason. In any case, treat her well in the future. When you get married, I'll give you a big gift. Lu Chen was speechless. You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.